Hey, in the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. We're happy you spent some time with us, Chip and Zay, on a off the wheels off Thursday. Would you say that? Off the rails. I mean, it's our last broadcast of the week, Zay. Because then everyone's going to have Good Friday and Happy Easter and all that good stuff. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Happy Thursday, everybody. Chip and Zay in the flesh,
In the flesh.
I'm feeling pretty good today on this Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, my friend. I mean, getting ready for another top 10 showdown at the Dish tonight. Number 1 Texas versus number 8 Auburn. Spring football rolls on. Of course, football season never ends here on Chip and Zay. We will talk to our man Lance Taylor of lanceslock.com. He'll join us in the 3 o'clock hour. But Zay, it's been an eventful week. Texas football added a receiver out of the portal, Emmett Mosley the 5th. Women's basketball added a couple of bigs out of the portal. We heard from some of the defensive stars of the Longhorns football team. Colin Simmons says he wants to break records. He said he wants to break the sack record, which at Texas is 22 and a half sacks. Kiki Diayala. How do you think Colin Simmons does on that this year?
I think he's going to fall short. I'm not saying that he's going to have a bad season. I think he's going to be spectacular, but 22 and a half, that's a lot. Like, you're having some 4-sack games if you're trying to reach that status. And in the SEC, if he could do that, then Longhorns, Pete Kwiatkowski, they're in a good spot. But I could see him being in the teens. That seems a little bit more realistic, whether it's 13 or 15, something like that. But again, Colin Simmons, someone was to break that record. Why not him? I mean, he told us yesterday that he's the one. That's why he changed his number from 11 to 1. And the dude looks like a man on a mission. So I wouldn't put it past him going for that record. Like, I love that these young student athletes set goals for themselves on, what they want to do and what they want to achieve while they're here in the 40 acres. And I'm sure beyond, once Colin Simmons gets to the NFL, he's going to be going for records then, try and go for Michael Strahan or somebody like that. But yeah, as of now, I don't think he's going to get too close, but again, I think he's going to have a really, really good season. That's going to lead to a lot of wins and success for Steve Sarkisian's ball club. How about you? How do you think he's going to do? Where do you think he's going to fall?
I think he has a better shot of doing it in 26 than 25. Just because I think you'll have he'll have a little more experience. His defensive tackles will have grown up a little bit, the Justice Terrys, Myron Charles, Josiah Sharmas. But look, to break a record like that, you got to have a guy across from you who's got to, command attention. And Ethan Burke is a guy who can do that. And, obviously Colton Vasek is a guy they have right behind Ethan Burke. Burke's a senior. Vasek's got to stay healthy. We know that. And, you got some guys coming up behind him, Colin Simmons said Lance Jackson's going to be a first-round pick.
Oh, he said that? First-round pick?
In 3 years. Yeah.
Man.
How about that?
That's one thing I love about these Texas players, former players, guys that are still on campus. They go ride for each other. They go out and they are ride or die for one another. Hear what Mookie Tapp said yesterday about no one speaking on NIL situations. Like, it's all business in that locker room. And again, they're going to praise each other and big each other up. Like, that's what you have to do. I love when guys do that when they're getting asked combine questions, the Jade Barons of the world, and Quinn Ewers on like who's up next that's still on campus while you're getting ready for the draft process. And they always shout out their little homies. Like, that's what it's about. So to hear Colin Simmons say this about Lance Jackson, which we talked a little bit about Lance Jackson earlier this week, always got good genes. Texarkana native, brother dominated Arkansas as an edge rusher. I think it's going to be a steal in the draft wherever he falls, Lance Jackson. So if Lance comes in with any of that ability and that will, then Colin Simmons, he ain't too far off speaking on Lance Jackson's name like that. So I like it. I like it. Because that's exactly what you need, and that's exactly what you want from your culture if you're Steve Sarkisian and the coaching staff.
Yeah. Texas has been, Lance Jackson, part of the number one recruiting class in the country. That stuff doesn't mean a lot to me unless you've got a track record of evaluating and developing players. Like A&M had the number one recruiting class in the nation, like ever. Number one recruiting class ever. 2-3 years ago, and that didn't amount to nothing. But if you've shown that you can evaluate, develop, and you're getting the number one recruiting class, like when Alabama got the number one recruiting class, you're like, oh, Lord. And so I put some stock in it. And Colin Simmons, we know Colin Simmons likes to talk. We'll see what kind of talent evaluator he is.
Oh, he likes to talk. All right. Which again, you got to have that about you. I think he has just a certain edge to him that makes him successful. Like, I'm the baddest dude on the field. I'm the baddest dude in the planet. I'm the one. Y'all don't have to deal with me. Like, anytime an offensive coordinator is going over that game plan, Colin Simmons' name is going to come up real quick. Like, we got to slow this SOB down if we want to have a good day. And there's a lot of guys on Texas like that. Like, you're going to have to focus on Anthony Hill. You're going to have to focus on Michael Taft. Obviously, Colin Simmons. I think Ethan Burke's due for a breakout season because he's finally going to get the reps that I'm sure he's been dreaming of since he's put on that Texas uniform. And again, we know they're going to rotate guys and they're going to mix up Pete Kwiatkowski and them. But Ethan Burke's probably like, all right, here we go. Like, I'm going to be the man. Watch out. We're going to see a lot of those stops like we saw in the A&M game on fourth down where Ethan Burke made that big play. I think we're going to see that from Ethan Burke each and every Saturday because he has that in him. And, Colton Vasek, I hate the injuries. Some guys, they're just a little more injury prone than others. And, again, I hope that when he gets back, he can be completely cleared and not have to worry about it. But kind of like with Quinn Ewers, you always worry about guys if they have history. So hopefully Colton Vasek could get back and get healthy enough to be an issue. But the edge, this roster, yeah, it's going to be serious. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see who steps up. I'm excited to see who has that breakout year and see where this defense left off from last year and being one of the best defenses in the nation.
Yeah. Anthony Hill is an echo happening. Do you hear that?
I can't hear it. I can't tell. I don't know. Like, you sound fine to me. I don't know how I sound. People are saying that I sound a little loggy and choppy. I don't know how to adjust that. So hopefully it gets better.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a new chemistry that needs to be developed on that across the board, really. I mean, when you're talking about the number of players you just lost, 14 guys went to the NFL Combine. There's a new chemistry that needs to be developed, but and you've got some, spring is kind of a weird time to figure what it's all going to look like because you've got some guys out with injury. You've got some newcomers who aren't here yet, but Jonah Williams, I mean, he's the highest rated player in the class. He's not even working out with the team yet. We'll start in June. But yeah.
But they got them at certain meetings, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I still don't know the specifics when it comes to his schedule and what Jim Schlossnagle is asking for him and what he's allowed to do with the football team. Obviously, he's completely locked in with the baseball team right now, but I'm sure he's attending some meetings, whether Dwayne Aquina, Mark Orfe, whatever they're doing with the secondary group, Pete Kwiatkowski and them. I'm sure he's involved somehow. I just don't know the specifics with that. Like how many times a week, the hours, is he allowed to do any type of lifting or anything like that? Will it be kind of a burden if he did any lifting to when he goes back to baseball? It might throw him off a little bit because, again, he ain't playing much in baseball. What, did he have a at-bat against UTRGV?
Yeah, he's he's a work in progress. Let's see here. Jonah Williams is batting 0. He's had 4 game appearances, 2 at-bats, no hits, so he's 0 for 2. That's not any kind of sample size. But he does have a run scored because he's been used as a pinch runner at times. I just want to see what's going on with him, on the football field, how quickly it all comes to him, because we know he's put together. We know that. And, dude is the number 6 prospect in the nation in this 2025 recruiting cycle. So come on,
that secondary room is heating up.
Oh yeah.
So he might come into a situation where he's gonna be behind. Like that's just fact. Like he's gonna be
for how long?
Yeah, that's the thing. For how long? How long is he gonna be behind? How long till he earns the trust of Pete Kwiatkowski, Mark Orfe, Dwayne Aquina, to where like, okay, throw Jeff Banks in there because these young guys, you better earn your keep on the special teams before you want to really do anything as a position player. Like, how bad do you want to be a good teammate here? And the special teams will always test you with that. So how long is it going to take Jonah Williams once he gets back and he's all about football? We'll see. But those other guys, Xavier Filsames of the world and Warren Roberson and Kobe Black and Wardell Mack and Jordan Johnson Rebel, all those guys that didn't get much bump this past season, itching and clawing for an opportunity this year. And
Make your case.
Make your case. Hell yeah.
Make your case.
Show me something. Like Dwayne Akina ain't even giving Mookie Taft compliments.
No.
It's all American. So
No compliments.
I'm sure these other guys get a big taste of humble pie real early. Like, y'all ain't done nothing yet. Who do you think you are? I don't give a damn about your 4 or 5 star rating. I don't care what you're supposed to be. Like, I'm one that helped put Aaron Ross in the league, and Michael Griffin, and Michael Huff, and Cedric Griffin. Dudes, Nathan Vasher, dudes. Straight up dudes. So you want to be a part of that? Cool. We can guide you in that right direction. But nothing's given at all.
All right, hold on, because our commander-in-chief, BK, says you and I need to take turns logging off and logging back in because there is some audio popping and chopping. You want to go first or me?
So we got to log off completely?
Well, I don't know.
You go first, man. I'll hold it down.
All right.
Back. Because I don't know what the hell is going on. All right, Chip will be back. I guess we're having technical difficulties. BK hit us up, said might have to alternate leaving and coming back, echoes, popping sounds. Like, we don't hear that shit from our side. So we appreciate y'all for letting us know so we could get back right. You know what I'm saying? But,
Hey.
All right, let me see what's going on here.
Well, talk for a minute. Maybe it's solved. No, it's still echoing. All right. Now you sign off and come back. Apologies to the listeners. We're just dealing with a little technical issue. Trying to make sure that the audio is as pleasant as possible. We don't want it popping like popcorn. Roy says this brings new meaning to what's popping, everybody. Yes, sometimes popping is good, but we don't want it to be popping when it comes to the radio show here, the Chip and Zay. 2 hours of fun and on a Thursday, but obviously one of the bigger headlines, if I guess we would call it that, is Lee Corso says he's done. He will do Lee Corso will do the broadcast on August 30th. There he is. Zay, how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, something
Right.
might have been wrong with my internet or something. It was being weird, me trying to log back in, but
everything sounds good now. I just brought up the fact that Lee Corso has announced he is going to retire from game day. He said he's going to do the August 30th, which you got to think is going to be in Columbus. And Lee Corso is 90.
Damn, man.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Lee Corso is 90. And Lee Corso, he had it going, man. He had it going there for a while. Then he had a stroke. He couldn't talk for a while.
Yeah.
He came, it was kind of awkward at times where Kirk Herbstreit had to help him kind of finish his sentences, but it got better. Like, he worked on it, battled back, came back from the stroke, kept it going. And so he'll do one more game day, Zay. What do you think about that?
Legend. Absolute legend for him to be as knowledgeable as he's been. Funny, witty guy. His mascot heads have been legendary for years, where even folks that don't follow college football know of Lee Corso. And like him and Dick Vitale, like that's childhood for me because they're two of the guys that made me fall in love with college sports and watching game day every Saturday, no matter what campus they were on. It's always been fun. So for Lee Corso to call it quits for this 2025 season, very bittersweet. Nobody will ever be able to repeat that. Like, I hope they don't find someone else to try to do the mascot head thing. Like, nah, that's Corso's bit, man. Like McAfee, I'm sorry, bro. That's not your game. And I get it, being a Pat McAfee to, bring in something different, especially knowing that Lee Corso's been on his last leg. That's been a good move. But yeah, college football without Lee Corso is a little bit different, man. And I hope he gets to enjoy retirement and be easy at his crib, and he'll be watching games, that's for sure. Like, just because he won't be on the panel doesn't mean that he won't be watching games and be locked in. And who knows, maybe they could bring him back for some guest appearances, situations, or I don't know. But yeah, definitely a legend, and will be missed for sure.
Well, CB, the world's greatest volunteer producer in the history of radio, said Corso should have retired 15 years ago.
Come on, CB. That's a little harsh, ain't it?
CB also cannot stand McAfee.
That's fair.
So how does everyone feel about Pat McAfee? Because I think his energy is great for those big game day crowds. Like, he plays to the crowd. He takes that field goal competition right out to the people. He's giving out big bucks to these students or whoever he finds to kick these field goals. What is it, a 33-yard field goal or whatever it is? And he's like, we'll do it for 25,000. Then last year, at one point, it was like for 800,000. I'm like, life must be good in the McAfee house.
I guess so.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You like him? You like McAfee?
Yeah, he's cool. Like, he brings that WWE feel to the game. Like, he's an incredible athlete, for one. And again, say what you want about him. Not everybody's gonna like you, but yeah, I think he's fine. Because you're right, he does bring a certain energy to game day. And then when you add Nick Saban in there, like, they got a good yin to each other's yang. You know what I'm saying? Saban's very just straight
Right.
and OG, old school, and he has to control himself from swearing all the time just because he's a coach at heart. And he just gets so caught up and so passionate about the game that he loves. Sometimes, an S-bomb slips out or something that, the FCC would not like you to say on cable. But yeah,
the wildest moment was when they were in Ireland and they're crammed into this little Irish pub before the Florida State Georgia Tech game. And Saban's in there and he looked like he wanted to be anywhere but where he was, in that little pub. McAfee's just hammering beers. And I think it's funny because you're right. I mean, McAfee's so big, such a personality, that it makes for a interesting contrast, because McAfee does not slow down for Nick Saban.
No.
McAfee's just going, and Saban's either gotta go with it or tell him to piss off. But it's entertaining. I mean, I like it better than the Fox show. I like it better than the Big Noon Kickoff.
Yeah, they don't have those, like Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram's cool. Liner. Who else? Brady Quinn, I guess. It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah. It doesn't have the
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, game day. And they do a good job. They do a good job. They prepare all the stories during the week and they do a good job of reporting and they should, because they're paying tons of money for these rights. So yeah, CB points out that Big Noon tried to hire Reese Davis. Reese Davis has been the host of ESPN's College Game Day for the last 15 years. I can't believe, or no, since 2015. Since 2015, last 10 years. He took over for Chris Fowler. Fowler was like, hey, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to call the games. Okay. I'll be in the press box. Now, Herb Street's still doing both. Herb Street's getting on a plane, flying from wherever game day is to wherever the game is, if it's not at the site of game day.
With the dog. Got to make sure the dog's there.
He's got a new dog, right? Ben's gone.
Yeah. Ben's gone. Why you
Ben's
like that?
He's up there in that. He's in the big kennel in the sky.
Yeah. But he's had like 4 other golden retrievers. So I don't know which one gets the call to replace Ben, but he has a few candidates that he likes to go on the road with.
Who gets the call out of the bullpen?
Yeah.
Fido, it's your turn this week. Let's roll. I thought Herb Street is kind of he's kind of smuggalicious.
Is he?
Well, he was.
Is this earlier. You being a Michigan guy hating an Ohio State
no.
guy? This isn't okay.
No.
Okay.
I've spent time with Herb Street. It was me, Ian Fitzsimmons, and Kirk Herbstreit who went to the Ritz-Carlton when Jerry Jones walked in.
Okay, yeah. What'd Jerry say? To y'all?
Why are there so many guys here? So good.
Oh, I love that story.
And 5 minutes later, he's talking to some 25-year-old with boots up to her thighs.
Yeah, I want to be around this sausage fest. I'm Jerry Jones. Y'all understand?
I'm Jerry.
Come on. What y'all think this is?
And Matt Mosley was there, and Mosley was like, because Jerry was dressed nice, and Mosley was like, Jerry, wait, you look good. Where you been? He's like, we went to the opera. I told Gene to go on home.
Wow, that sounds crazy. Told Gene to go home. She gonna come out too? Like, damn, what does that mean? What are you gonna get into, Jerry? You tell your wife to go home. All right.
I think you know what Jerry's gonna get into.
No, Jerry. Class A citizen right there. Which, okay, Matthew Golden was on Kay Adams' show today. Anytime anyone's on Kay Adams' show, everybody's just always smiling and stuff. Something about that Kay Adams that just makes you smile and say whatever the hell you got to say during those interviews. But Matthew Golden did well, gearing up for the draft. She asked him about Jerry Jones because we put out that picture the other day that Matthew Golden posted on his Instagram where he was meeting with the Cowboys and meeting with Jerry Jones. And Matthew Golden FaceTimed his mom and Jerry popped up and, real cute moment. What stood out though, Chip, which says everything, Matthew Golden was calling him Coach Jerry. Coach Jerry. Coach who? Coach where? He ain't no coach, but that's how he acts. That's what he thinks he is. That's you know what I'm saying? Like that's just it couldn't be more telling. And Matthew Golden, again, he's just having fun going through the draft process. The dude has earned a lot of money since the end of the season to now with the combine and pro day, et cetera, et cetera. So Matthew Golden, he was joshing a little bit, but still, like you could see Jared like, oh, call me Coach Jared. You can see him saying something like that just because that's what he really thinks. He thinks he's a coach out here. Hey, that's the problem with you, Jerry. You ain't no coach out here, bro. Know your role.
And there's a lot of rumblings that Golden could be the pick for the Cowboys. So that's crazy. We don't know if Golden's just trying to butter Jerry's muffin there or what, but yeah, so Golden told Kay Adams if he was fully healthy, he would have run a 4.1 40.
Hold up, what? He wasn't healthy? Come on, man. Matthew Golden, see, now you playing. Come on.
Hey, that's kind of a sexy little thing to say, though.
That's a wild thing to say. Yeah. See, I'm telling you, man. Kay Adams. See, I don't know. Kay Adams be just making you say stuff. There's certain women in the game, in this media game that we have here, that's just they make these guys say crazy stuff. Taylor Rooks is the same way. Go watch a Taylor Rooks interview. You see these athletes saying the most outlandish things, and you're like, what are y'all talking about here? Maybe it's just the person who's interviewing them. Kay Adams of the world, Brooksons, Aaron Andrews, Taylor Rooks. That's a wild thing to say, Matthew Golden. I feel you. Like, hey, if you have that much belief, young man, then go ahead and get it. But also, bro, you were at 4.2 something and you weren't healthy? Like, what was going on? But hey, these guys have a lot of confidence in themselves. Okay.
I love it. See, this is love. Coach 420 just dropping it. Dallas will be a S show until Jerry kicks the can.
Yo, you trying to kill him?
I want 0 Longhorns to go there.
Good grief. Coach 420, we ain't trying to kill him. Maybe he can retire or something like that and give it up, but kicks the can.
Rodney says Jerry was planning to butter some muffins. That's why he sent his wife home after the op. So, yeah. Hey, I don't even know what to say about the Cowboys because I'm just so done with the direction of. I'm a broken record. Once they signed Dak to the $60 million a year contract, I was done. And I was like really sort of done when they signed Romo to the contract with $52 million guaranteed at the age of 33, and he's already had back surgeries. Worst contract in the history of football to that point. And then it was superseded by the contract that they gave Dak, who I would have franchised twice and let hit the market. And why did you pay him before last season? Let him go earn it. Let him go earn that. And if he wins you a Super Bowl and says deuces, then he won you a Super Bowl. But he didn't win you no Super Bowl.
Bounce back this year, Dak. Bounce back, baby. You're a father.
That's what we say every year.
Is it?
Dak was a good story when he first started out. He was like Brock Purdy.
Okay, he wasn't like that. Brock Purdy was the last pick. Dak's like 4th.
Whatever. Dak was the 4th round pick.
Like Brock
turned into gold. It was beautiful. Brady was a 6th round pick? Turned into the best ever, that's always fantastic stuff when you don't drop all your money on a first round pick for a quarterback. So now he's stuck with him. There's so many more issues though. I mean, it's Dak, Micah Parsons, your best defensive player, could also be the reason your locker room is unsettled. I would have let him go. I would have traded for him. I would have traded Micah before last season for 2 first rounders. Like, you're rebuilding. You'll never say it. Jerry never says it. He's always like, I think we can get to the Super Bowl. Well, no. You were rebuilding last year. And everyone's like, oh, the Cowboys are no good. I'm like, yeah. They're no good because they're rebuilding. And everyone should know that. That's the other thing. Why would you pay $60 million to a quarterback when you're rebuilding?
Loyal.
Yeah. You got CeeDee Lamb. Okay. You got no running backs. Your offensive line's falling apart. Your number 2 and 3 receivers, no one's scared of. You let them all.
Brandon Cooks was going to be better. That was unfortunate.
I mean, he was good for a minute, but he's not the other receiver that you need. I mean, you look at the Bengals with friggin' Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and it seems like every time you turn around, they got another receiver who's making plays. The Rams have receivers coming out of their receivers, and Cowboys.
No. Rams struck gold with Puka Nacua.
Huh?
Rams struck gold with Puka Nacua.
Yep. They did their homework. Eagles are killing it. They just keep drafting the most important position in football, defensive tackle. Now they're loaded. You got Moro Ojimo. You got freaking Jalen Carter. You got dudes. Cowboys had that going for a minute with the offensive line.
Yep.
They just kept striking gold. You're like, ooh, this is fun.
Yep. Smith and Martin ain't coming back. Both of those guys. Retirement ceremony. Which Dak was at. All those guys. Some Micah there too. DeMarcus Ware was there. Nice little Cowboys reunion.
I mean, CB says Kelvin Banks would be a good pick for Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great pick for Dallas. I'd pick Kelvin Banks before I pick Matthew Golden. It's harder to find a franchise left tackle than it is to find a franchise receiver. The receivers in this day and age are so good, and there are so many that you can find a difference-making receiver in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. It's hard to find a franchise left tackle. And Banks is, I don't care what anyone says about, his arms are, he's a guard. No, this guy's going to be fine at tackle. And guess what? If you move him to guard, he'll be a Pro Bowler there. So either way, you're getting a Pro Bowl player. Whoever gets Kelvin Banks is
still the dumbest take of the draft. Kelvin Banks, left guard, right guard. So stupid. What are we doing?
No.
I hope Steve Sarkisian, when he took those phone calls and they were asking him about playing guard, I hope he told whoever he was on the phone with, hey, you're bugging. This is stupid. I got a lot going on. My wife pregnant. I got to get this team back to the college football playoff. We got 27 early enrollees. Please stop disrespecting me and take Kelvin Banks as a left tackle. You won't be sorry. Click. Just like that disrespectful too, because that's just stupid. It's dumb. And you know what? Old boys from Georgia who did their own, workouts, McCall, what's my man's name? Jalen Walker and what's McCall Williams? Is that my man's name?
McCall Williams.
McCall Williams. They did their own, both of those two. They did their own workout together, I guess in Athens or something like that recently. Like, yeah, we know those guys are monsters, but that was really the only time Kelvin Banks had trouble. And again, if Quinn was a little bit more lively in the pocket, I don't think those situations would have happened with him coming off of the oblique injury and still dealing with the oblique injury for what we found out. So
I agree with that. I agree with that because you saw Georgia struggle with the mobile quarterbacks. They struggled with DJ Lagway. They struggled with Haynes King.
Jalen Milroe lit their ass up.
Jalen Milroe lit their ass up. So, you know, I'm very, very intrigued to see how Arch manages that. When to run, when not to. And we know he can scoot. He had the longest run of the Georgia game in October. 21 yards on a scramble?
Yeah. Well, that you heard him last week when Arch was talking. What's Grandpop saying? Oh,
get down, Archie, get out of bounds.
Get your ass down, please. Please. That's what your grandfather's supposed to be for. That's that old OG wisdom right there. Because Archie Manning, in the era that he played in, he should have some serious CTE. No, Archie Manning's good. Archie Manning does a lot, gets around. I remember when we were at the Sugar Bowl and we did our shows, Texas Sports Unfiltered, from the Manning Sports Bar. Like Archie was talking to folks, signing autographs. I was like, damn, Archie looked good.
Yeah.
Saw him in the Waymo commercial with him and Cooper and Arch and stuff. And, you know, they cracking on Archie a little bit. That was the bit. But Archie looks good, man.
Sarkisian said Archie's a good texter.
See? How old's Archie? Let's see.
He's got to be 70.
75. Yeah. He ain't got no Muhammad Ali syndrome or anything. Nothing like that. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He's speaking in complete sentences.
Yes.
He's texting in complete sentences. He's in the Waymo commercial. That's a funny commercial.
That's a pretty funny commercial.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I saw Arch has another NIL deal with the
Panini
autograph. Yeah, Panini
memorabilia.
Yeah. Clean up, Arch. Get that paper, dog.
Oh yeah. No, he's banking. He's banking. Quinn made $6 million. I bet Arch gets to $6 million probably by December.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it helps to be a member of the first family of football. Because everyone is betting on you to succeed. They are willing to invest in it. And Arch he's as charming as apple pie. And even when he's telling the media that they're annoying, he's charming. Do you think the media is annoying? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
no, he was funny when he was with y'all last week. Like, he has a really good sense of humor, clowning our guy, Kurt Boyles and stuff, and about his fit. And just,
yeah, you need some drip.
You need some drip. Like,
What'd you call him, Kirk Boyles?
Did I say Boyles? Kurt Boyles. Excuse me. Words got caught there.
Yeah, he said that Kirk needs to buy some of that Viore. Athletic gear. We got to get you some drip. That was funny.
But, like, for him, for Arch, like, when your uncles and your pops, even though they're all retired and stuff, I mean, his pops is still working, but I mean, Eli and Peyton being retired from the game, when they're in the limelight still, like they are, from the Manning cast to Peyton always being in commercials. Like Peyton's doing commercials for Toll House cookies. Are you kidding me? Like I just saw Eli. Has his own little show coming out where he has Jalen Brunson as one of the guests. Like they are businessmen, the Manning family. Like they're gonna continue to.
Yeah, Peyton's producing the Netflix series.
Exactly, like Omaha Productions. Like Payne's doing a lot. He has his little, series with the 4-letter network where the Peyton's Places, and then you see other former athletes in their old professions doing their own places, like Vince Carter and Sue Bird and Stephanie McMahon's doing, the WWE side of it. Like all that has to do with Peyton Manning. So Arch is gonna fall right in line with all that business savvy, and seems like he's getting it early. But again, those guys, Peyton and Eli, they earned all that. I'm not saying Arch hasn't. It's just Arch has a lot of work to do, and he knows that, which is important.
People forget that Archie was kind of instrumental in saying that Eli would not play in San Diego when he was taken number 1 in 2004 by the Chargers and forced the trade to the Giants. And of course, now people are saying, could Dion do the same thing with Shedeur if Shedeur ends up at a place where Dion doesn't think that they know how to manage their organization? And Dion had one of the best lines ever when it came to the draft, and it was about my Lions, unfortunately. He said, the Lions couldn't afford to put me on layaway. He said, I'm not playing for Detroit. And he said the Buccaneers couldn't afford him either. And I mean, Dion was the best. And when I was doing the show with Harge, and Harge would have Chipper Jones on, and Chipper Jones would tell stories about, Chipper being in left field and Dion being in center field. And when a ball was hit to left center, Dion would he would talk about his glove was named Lucille. He'd be like, Lucille got this one, Chipper, don't you worry. And then when that ball went up, and he's like, Lucille ain't got this one, Chipper. You better get going. And that's just funny. I mean, Chipper Jones loves Dion. Loves him. Said he was a great teammate. Like he had a persona for the media. He had a persona for the cameras. But in the clubhouse, he was all about his teammates and ball. And I told you, covering the Cowboys, Dion would take the blame. He'd take the blame for a touchdown that he had nothing to do with to protect the younger guys on the team. And so I think Dion is awesome. Now, I'm a dad. I get it. When it comes to your kids, you can get a little, you can
like
get a little
like how LeBron went to confront Stephen A. Get a little out of character sometimes.
A little out of character. That's a good way to put it. So we'll see what this draft brings. There's a lot of speculation about, Shedeur possibly falling. That the Giants, may need more. They may need an Abdul Carter more than they need a Shedeur Sanders. So, I mean, I guess Abdul Carter's the surest thing in this draft.
I guess.
I'd say Kelvin Banks is a pretty sure thing.
Yes.
So,
yeah, for sure. He's such an interesting prospect just because he held the ball so long for Colorado, just trying to make a play. And oh no, in the National Football League, you can't do that stuff. And he's not the most athletic guy. The arm isn't crazy strong, but it's strong enough. Like there have been guys in the NFL with weaker arms that have been successful than Shedeur Sanders. And they are trying to nitpick for him. Like the whole batting the ball thing before he releases it. That was a little odd because that's really all I've ever seen some of the greatest quarterbacks. Like they showed Brady, he's a ball batter. Aaron Rodgers, ball batter. Like that doesn't necessarily like have much to do with where the ball goes. It has a little bit to do, but we all know it's all about anticipation and knowing the playbook and stuff and how quick's your release. So them trying to get after Shedeur Sanders for that, I thought that was a little odd. But Dad's always been in this corner. He seems like a guy that could rep himself well and his last name, but he's also had some weird moments like, just entitlement moments that you see where you're like, okay, how does this fare with you trying to be the leader of a locker room for an NFL team? Like, because you can't, some of the stuff that he was saying to this Colorado teammates, I was like, damn, Shedeur, that's a little harsh. Like, you just telling them straight up, like, yo, do this now or else type stuff. Like, just real, not motivational. There's
right.
certain be demanding and there's certain way to just straight up be rude. And when the cameras are on, like Shedeur, he showed that a little bit. But again, he was trying to be a leader. I'm sure he'll learn once he deals with grown-ass men and he's one of the youngest guys on the team. You can't talk that way, bruh. Somebody will smack the hell out of you if you try to talk like that. They don't give a damn who your daddy is. So I bet you that's where a lot of caution goes to some of these scouts. If Shedeur Sanders could come in and realize, hey, I'm just like one of the guys. I'm trying to fit in. I got to be a good teammate. I got to make sure I'm the first one in, last one out type of mentality. He should be fine, but you just never know. That's why they're called busts for a reason. You never know who's going to pan out, no matter what their draft grade is. That's what makes it so much fun and so cool to dissect when you're talking about all these draft prospects and whatnot.
Well, the one thing you have to acknowledge about Shedeur is the guy's a winner, and he's Deion's kid, and Deion was the best to ever do it. So you don't want to get distracted. Like Shedeur comes with some stuff, right? He's flashy, he says stuff, he can come off as being a me guy, but he helped elevate a program that has been in the tank to, a program that you couldn't take your eyes off of. You had to know what was going on with it. You wanted to see what was happening. And does he have, he's not Jaden Daniels, but because he doesn't run like that. He really doesn't run much at all. But does he have that charisma? Does he have that follow me? Because that is hard to find. That's hard to find. Joe Burrow's got it. Troy Aikman had it. Obviously Brady, developed into that. But if he's a guy who's willing to say, well, me, let's go. Because that's the one thing about like a guy like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is really good at what he does, but he's not a guy who says, get on my back. here we go. He doesn't close. He doesn't put his team over the finish line. And I think Kirk Cousins is really good. And, for a while I thought Dirk Nowitzki was really good in the regular season, but he wasn't get on my back. And then in 2011, he's like, get on my back. And I think people know what I'm saying when I say that, because you can be really good at quarterback, but if you're a guy who's like, follow me, we're going to get this done, has that much confidence, that much charisma, that much assassin in him, then you don't want to miss on that. Is Cam Ward that guy? They're betting on it. Because I'm seeing him as the number one pick in this draft pretty much everywhere. And Shedeur may have that. Quinn Ewers. Is Quinn a guy who was like, get on my back? I didn't feel that, but he made some plays.
4th and 13.
Made some plays, 4th and 13. 26 of 28 against OU in the second half after 3 turnovers. Like, there are some things about Quinn that are really attractive. He can shake off mistakes. Romo stayed around in this league and made a bunch of money because he could shake off mistakes. Half the time he was leading a comeback because of the turnovers that he had in the first half. So, Matt Stafford's a get on my back. Here we go.
But it took Matt a while to get that, though.
Well, he did it even in Detroit where they were not good. And he would get hit and hit and hit and still be like, let's go. So I have all kinds of respect for Matt Stafford. I'm glad he won.
I love Matt Stafford.
Glad he won with the Rams. But
that's sweet of you, because you don't have to be glad. If I was in your shoes, I wouldn't be glad. I would be very petty, like, screw Matt Stafford, freaking bum. Can't believe he did that. What the hell are we doing? Now we got Jared Goff, who can't get over the hump.
Hey, if that defense didn't get savaged, ravaged, pillaged by injuries last year, we might be talking about a whole different story for old Jared Goff. He had such a good year last year.
He did.
And they couldn't stop anybody at the end. They couldn't stop Jaden Daniels, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jaden Daniels and his crazy-ass mama couldn't stop him.
Yeah, how about that? That's another thing we learned this week. Jaden Daniels' mama. Mover.
We've been knowing that.
Mover and shaker. She's a deal maker, man. She be wheeling and dealing.
That's a good mother right there. All the crap that she gets. She a helicopter mom, yeah, but she's trying to make sure her baby Jaden Daniels isn't ending up like Anthony Edwards, who is out here on his deadbeat dad stuff. Ain't taking no accountability to the mistakes that he's made. She wants to make sure her son doesn't have anything to do with that. So I respect Jaden Daniels' mama, but she is always around. And hell yeah, CB, Hall of Famer. Yeah, you got to throw Matt Stafford in there, man. Yeah, you got that ring. That should be enough. Them stats look good. That should be enough.
So why doesn't Nico Iamaleava have a school yet?
I thought he's going to UCLA.
Well, isn't that what Colin Cowherd reported?
That's what I thought.
Is it official?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds right.
Really, Nico, you're gonna go from making $2.2 million and playing in front of one of the best college fan bases in the sport to UCLA and play in front of an echo chamber in the house that Vince Young built and rents to UCLA?
Apparently, he said that the offense that Josh Heupel was throwing at him didn't fit what Nico likes to do. Has to be a good fit. I feel you, Nico. Get your money. If it ain't a good fit, screw these guys. Screw the Rocky Top. Screw them. They're fake UT anyway. You don't want to be a part of the fake UT. You can't come be a part of the real UT. We already got one of them ones. So it's tough. It's tough decision. Tough move to be made. And now you go into La La Land. The Polynesian population's definitely a lot bigger in La La Land than it is in Knoxville, Tennessee. So you got that going for you. You know, Pops, the whole family probably comfortable. You might not be making as much, especially with them California taxes. Lord, them California taxes, they gonna take an arm and a leg. So I know Tennessee's taxes were probably a lot better than Cali's. That was probably something to pay attention to. But if you're leaving for the reasons that you say you're leaving, which is the offense, all right, let's see what this offense.
Now you're going to play for Deshaun Foster,
my man,
who is unproven. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we're trying to break Troy Aikman's records, Nico. Come on, man. USC who? Like UCLA put them on as the big attraction in Southern California when it comes to this college football. Change the game. That traveling's an MFer though. Big Ten travel. My God, I don't know UCLA schedule. They might have to go up to Columbus and Ann Arbor and State College, Eugene. Like, it's gonna be a little different. You were coming from the SEC, but still, it's gonna be a little different.
Yeah.
Man. Who's the worst Nico right now? Nico Ilimaliava or Nico Harrison?
Nico Harrison,
yeah. Because Nico Ilimaliava, it's Pops in the fam. I can't even put it on him. Nico Harrison, a lot worse. But
Did
hey,
you see
they got the dub yesterday. So
yeah.
Thomas.
Clay Thompson.
Oh, he
10
killed
threes.
Second half, he killed. Or second quarter, I mean, he was killing. That shot's still pretty.
AD
doing his thing.
Anthony Davis was popping threes and putting a ice water in his veins. Yeah, man. Did you see the Nico Harrison press conference the other day?
No one saw the Nico Harrison press conference. There were no cameras allowed or anything.
Oh, it was like this off the record thing?
Yeah, but there were like Tim McMahon was there for the Four Letter Network. There weren't really. It was a very scared press conference, which Nico, come on, don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
You already took the bullet. You could take a couple more. Like, it's fine. Like, everybody blames you. It's okay. And what Nico kept saying, defense wins championships. He's been real focused on this defense situation, on why the trade makes sense. It doesn't still, but he's trying. I can respect him trying. I can respect the effort. But he's falling on his face here. And now Dirk, that's what they asked him about too, to what CB's referring to. Dirk, he wants nothing to do with it. And we knew that. Once we saw Luka play his first game in a Lakers jersey and Dirk Nowitzki was freaking there, you knew right then Dirk is done with the Mavs. Done. You don't give a damn if you got a statue out there, American Airlines right outside. Could care less. Like, Dirk's like, what are y'all doing? Because Dirk's a part of that building the franchise up. Like, the Mavs had some dark years in the 90s. They thought they had their due with Jason Kidd, and Jim Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, and you got these fools fighting over Tony Braxton. How can we win when we fighting over Tony Braxton? Come break my heart. Deep
Listen,
voice, Tony Braxton.
They had to overcome Don Nelson, who had a fatal attraction to stick men that he could play on the outside, like Rafe LaFrance and Manute Bol. It was like, what are we doing? And Cuban kept Donnie Nelson after Don Nelson went off to Hawaii to smoke weed with Willie. And I never liked the direction of the Mavs under the Nelsons.
I love Don Nelson.
Well, he's a good storyteller. He's
a fun
guy.
Again, he was
fun guy.
Plant. Yeah.
You don't want your favorite team to be run by the guy. He gave Sean Bradley and Rafe LaFrance record contracts and got rid of Steve Nash to pay Rafe LaFrance.
Okay.
Rafe LaFrance, who was part of the biggest chokingest Kansas team in the history of college basketball.
And that's the thing. Rafe LaFrance, he fooled us all because he was supposed to be cold. Lefty, he could shoot. Like, he was one of those. If Rafe LaFrance played in this era of the NBA, all-star. Perennial all-star. That's a crazy take. Rafe LaFrance fit this style of basketball that we're seeing here in 2025. That early 2000s where you had to scratch and claw just to get a freaking bucket. It didn't fit there. But Rafe LaFrance, he fooled us all. That was
Don Nelson's fault.
Sean Bradley, yes. Rafe LaFrance, he fooled us all. That's a tough one. I thought Rafe could have been nice. Rafe had game. And Don Nelson, he didn't focus on defense either. So if you're not going to focus on defense, you have to have a lot of defensive guys that can do it organically, where even though I'm not paying attention to it as a coach, we're going to get good defense no matter what. That's why that We Believe Warriors team was so good. Because even though, they didn't have any big time players, Baron Davis was probably the biggest one. He had like Matt Barnes, and he had Steven Jackson, and just grimy, gutter, get it from the mud dudes that would like to fight somebody. Those Mavs teams, nobody wanted to fight anybody in the Mavs teams. Those Mavs teams were pretty soft. And then you had those run TMC teams that he had with Golden State back in the day, with Hardaway and Mitch Richmond and Chris Mullin. They weren't playing no D either. They weren't. Like, maybe Mitch Richmond, but everybody else, they weren't playing D. So, Nelly's my guy. He underachieved. But you got to have a good roster. Not everybody could be like Greg Popovich and just have the Admiral and Tim Duncan playing alongside another. Like, we're going to be freaking good. We got two of the best bigs to ever do it on our team, of course.
But they did a good job of scouting and bringing in foreign players. Tony Parker, Manu. They had Boris Diaw for a minute.
He was so good for San Antonio. He was so good. Couldn't jump over a yellow book, but
he just did whatever it took to win.
Had no left hand, but somehow could finish any type of layup. Made no sense. Like, Boris Diaw even came out and said, like, I'd never finish with my left hand. Some interview, I had no left. But he was just so crafty and so many up fakes and such a good pivot and footwork and stuff. He was able to get to that dominant hand. And Patty Mills, like, where'd they get Patty Mills from? Like, how they discover that and say, this guy who's a shooting guard in the point guard's body, who played for my boy Bennett down there at St. Mary's, he knows how to play. It's Australian. Hey, mate, this brother knows how to play. Sure enough, Patty was huge. Like,
I mean,
everybody
let's
has
not
that.
get carried away.
What? Huh?
He was huge.
Yes. Patty Mills? Yes. On that 2014 Spurs squad with Kawhi and all them. Patty Mills would come off the bench and give you like 3 threes a game. Timely, too. Rip your heart out threes. Because you got to double Timmy. You got to focus on the inside. Manu's out here Euroing all over the place. Tony Parker's out here spinning all over the place. Somebody's going to be open. Patty Mills. Patty Mills, one of the more underrated role players of all time. They always had random guys like that.
That was the last time they were good.
Yeah. Now they about to get Cooper Flagg. We're about to see a repeat. Cooper Flagg, Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox. Uh-oh. Look out, NBA. Look out. Cooper Flagg, just come out and say you're going to the league. What are you wasting everyone's time for? I'm going to think about it for a month or so. You're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting John Shire's time.
He's trying to get over that loss. He's trying to get over that loss to the Cougs.
Okay, get over it with all the millions you're going to be making. That's the number one pick. That's how you get over it. Or you could wipe your tears with them Benjamin Franklins. That's how you get over it. He's being dramatic. I don't like that. Just say you're going to the league. Because I don't even think John Shire has a scholarship waiting for you. Like John Shire said, he can't come back.
I'm not letting him come back.
I'll let him come back. Like, that'd be stupid. He comes back, hurt in the Duke uniform, paralyzed. I know he's in a wheelchair or something.
Wow.
Yeah, Sean Bradley.
Damn.
Who should have been a lot better than what he was.
Oh, he suffered a traumatic spinal cord injury in a bike accident in January 2021.
Yeah.
He was hit by a car while riding his bike.
First off, how do you not see Sean Bradley's 7'7" ass on a bicycle? Like, if you're hitting Sean Bradley, you're the worst driver in the world.
The worst.
But also, his big ass shouldn't be on a bike. He needs a Peloton or something.
Wow.
That's tragic.
7'6". That's a big bike.
That's a huge bike.
Like, remember those big wheel bikes? You know, that's the kind of bike he'd have to ride.
Yeah.
To get those pedals so far down for those long legs otherwise he's all crunched up. I mean, that's a tough go, man. Sean Bradley at 7'6", he can't just be riding some 10 speed. That was probably some specially designed bike. And that's sad.
That is sad.
Somehow missed that in the headlines. Well, the Texas Longhorns baseball. So I want to get your take, Zay. Who would be your MVP at the midpoint of SEC play for the Texas baseball team?
Probably, which there's a few. I'd probably say Rylan Galvan, him or Ethan Mendoza. I would say Will Gasparino would come in as a sleeper pick for that.
What about that pitching? That pitching, man.
True.
Lowest ERA in the SEC.
No, your boy Pram Mantis Volantis doing his thing. It's by committee though.
Yeah.
So all those guys.
Rubber-armed Ruger Riojas.
Yeah.
He's got 7 wins.
Yeah.
Jared Spencer, who's going to be dealing tonight, or they hope he's dealing.
Why wouldn't he be?
Right. He was good against Georgia, man. Well, he had to pitch in 40-degree weather last week.
Yeah, it's tough.
He's not good in the cold, and he's from Michigan.
Yeah, he should be good in the cold, right?
He should be good in the cold.
But you come down to Texas, you get acclimated with the weather here, so I get it. But no, a few guys, like I hope Ethan Mendoza's back tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to play him on Tuesday. I just had a feeling with the way that he went down. He's too valuable to be playing on that Tuesday night game, and also allows other guys to step up and contribute a little bit. But they can definitely use him, especially at that leadoff spot for tonight.
All right. Look who's jumping in the green room. Little carpool karaoke with Lance Taylor of Next Round Live and lanceslock.com. LT, what's going on?
Not much, man. And I apologize. I jump around on you guys all the time, and I don't know. It's just crazy this time of year, believe it or not. So,
well, you're
good.
Also doing sales in addition to your immense talent on the air, and
not to bore you. I know you are in sales in a capacity as well, Chip, but not to bore your listeners. But when we took on this venture, we took on a little more responsibility 3 years ago, and so I've been selling forever, but it's even more meetings and more sales calls and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's good. It's good you're selling and wheeling and dealing. Okay, give us your take on Nico Iamaleava.
It's mind-blowing, and it shows you need proper representation. You let a family member handle this. And look, I would love to know in an open forum like presidential debate style, Nico's team, Tennessee, let's really hear what went down. But the fact of the matter is, or the bottom line, just keep going 459. Yeah. Is you're leaving a team that won 10 games last year, went to a college football playoff. You were making $2.5 million. Now you're going to go, and I don't know, is it official UCLA? The last I saw 2 hours ago, they were eyeing him, and it looked like it was getting close. But let's say that you go play for Deshaun Foster. So your argument was, I don't know how well Josh Heupel develops quarterbacks, although the two quarterbacks he has coached at Tennessee, both Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton, were both drafted. They're both on active rosters. You had one of the more prolific offenses in all of college football the last 3 years. And now you're going to Deshaun Foster, who's coming off of 5-7. And I give Deshaun a lot of credit. I didn't think they get to 5-7. But it's a much worse situation to a team that has no chance of competing, and you're going to make less money. I mean, nothing about this makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And if I'm Nico, the first press conference I hold, I apologize and say this didn't go the way it should have gone. I wouldn't say, he can't make it sound like he's bummed out that he's now at UCLA or wherever the hell he's going to end up. But
right,
you got to apologize and say, I'm in charge now, and my name will not be in the headlines for anything other than football.
Well, radioactive is the adjective I heard that described Nico on Monday. And, we had Josh Pate on the show, and he said, the best thing is somebody needs to fall on the sword for Nico. And if, in fact, it is his father that did this bad job of negotiating, why his father wouldn't just come out and say, look, I completely shit the bed on this. I don't have a lot of experience. I was trying to do what I felt was in the best interest of my son. And what I have done is put him in a bad situation. He doesn't deserve this PR. It's on me. We're going to go out and get proper representation now where this doesn't happen again. My kid wants to play football. We burned a bridge with Tennessee. That's on me. It's not on Nico at all. But there needs to be damage control because, he's going to be, I don't know how you guys feel. Well, if he goes to UCLA, he's going to be irrelevant. So nobody's really going to watch or talk about him. But if he went to a contender, I think he might be public enemy number one in college football this year.
Yeah. Man, it's absolutely crazy, Lance. Lance Lee Corso hanging it up, been in the game for a very long time. Your thoughts on Lee Corso, and does he mean anything to you? Like, favorite moment at Lee Corso? Like, how do you feel about it?
So, we grew up with it. Going back to the way old College Game Day of Chris Fowler and Craig James and Lee Corso. And I remember being at the 1992 National Championship, January of 93, when Alabama beat the Miami Hurricanes. And they were 8-9 point underdogs. There was no way they could beat them. I remember Lee Corso talking about this is going to mismatch. And I just remember Lee Corso was very opinionated when he first started Game Day. I think it was back in 1987. And he went from, in some circles, he wasn't really a liked guy because he was so opinionated, to becoming beloved by every college football fan. Look, in the last few years, I mean, look, if we're lucky enough to get to Lee Corso's age, I'm sure we're all going to struggle in some capacity. But, it became kind of uncomfortable at times to watch. But I love the fact that he's somewhat going out on his own terms. He's going to get one more game day. And this college game day is not the college game day we grew up with. I mean, you've got McAfee and Saban on there now. I did think that the desk was way too crowded last year. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is just a hunch, if Kirk Herbstreit shuts it down after this year and just does the Saturday game and the Monday Night Football game. I mean, why not, right? So I do think that we're going to have a different looking game day moving forward. But to answer your questions, look, I think he did an awesome job. I think it was part of the fabric, the fiber of college football. I don't really have a favorite moment, but that the Lee Corso picking the team with the headdress at the end of game day was, it let you know that your day was about to begin. It was time, whatever your drink of choice was, it was time to get on it. Whether you were East Coast, 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock where we are Central, if you were early in the AM in the Pacific, make you a mimosa and get ready because college football was here.
Yeah, and apparently his first game was in Columbus, Ohio, and his last game will be in Columbus for Texas, Ohio State. Lance, what's your early take on that game? Your way too early take.
Well, we're going to see two really hyped quarterbacks, former Alabama quarterback and Julian Sayin and Arch Manning, get that first real road start. Hell, I don't know. I mean, those are both going to be top 5 teams. Hell, maybe top 1 and 2 to start the preseason. I would lean the home team, I guess, but I wouldn't feel good about it either way. But what a way to start the week 1 of the college football season.
Yeah, I mean, both those teams have so much to replace. You covered a program in Alabama where 15 dudes went off to the NFL every year, and they were right back in the hunt for the national championship the next year. This is where we find out where, Steve Sarkisian and Ryan Day are.
Well, I mean, you guys are close to it, and as long as you've got those guys on your roster, I mean, I think Sark's a good enough coach where, they can fall into 10 wins.
Yeah.
Lance, Ryan Grubb just came out and said if the season started today, Ty Simpson is our quarterback. Interesting thing to say, but hey, that's how he feels. How do you feel about him coming out and saying that?
I think there is a contingent of people that won't Ty because he's been there for 3 years and he's put his time in and he hasn't done what most quarterbacks do and they transfer out. I did think it was interesting, Zay, like you, for him to come out and say that publicly because I'm not really worried about Keelan Russell. This is a true freshman. He is the future quarterback. But for Austin Mack, a guy that came over with that staff, he's got a really good relationship with Ryan Grubb. I'm a little surprised just based on how close I heard the competition was that he would come out and say that. But I guess he's that comfortable with Austin Mack and saying, hey, look, you're a play away from being our guy. And right now he is the guy. He's been here longer. But we've got a good rapport, and if you do everything you're expected to do in fall camp, you could still win this job. So, Ryan Grubb, I'll tell you this, all the media that has dealt with him so far the first couple of months love this guy. I haven't had any interactions with him. We're going to be in Tuscaloosa in 2 weeks, and so I think we'll get to meet him at that opportunity or at that moment in time. But I've heard nothing but great things about him.
Is this the event that you did last year where you ended up getting 20 minutes with DeBoer and
we've got DeBoer on the show tomorrow. It's for the Rise Foundation, and so we're going to be at a golf course for this big charity golf tournament, And so we'll have Greg Byrne on, the athletic director. We'll have Nate Oates on. And then I think we're going to have some of the assistants. And hopefully Ryan Grubb will be one of those guys.
Nice. Now, are you following baseball at all? Because Texas and Auburn tonight.
No, I didn't even know they were playing. I know that's bad.
No worries. No worries. Just wanted to give you an opportunity. Didn't know if, you had a little closet college baseball bug in you. I didn't know.
I used to like it a lot more. I know it's become a bigger sport. We've got to figure out a way to consistently wager on this, though.
Yeah. So you're not, you don't, have you ever thought about putting out lines for college baseball?
We have actually given out, what I need is for the bookmakers, the big shops, the FanDuels, the MGMs, the DraftKings, the Pinnacles, need those guys to put the number out, Vegas. And then I can start doing a deep dive and giving out picks on this. We do it for College World Series a lot. I mean, really the only thing we're on right now is Major League Baseball, the NBA, and we'll occasionally play some NHL, but we haven't really gotten into the college baseball outside of Omaha.
All right. What do you want your Rams to do in the draft?
It's a great question. I've thought about this. I would love to be able to get a Tyler Warren or a Colston Loveland. I'd love to get a great tight end. I've got a feeling they might go for their future quarterback because I think Stafford has a year or two left. So I think they might take a flyer on. I don't think Jackson Dart will fall that far. I heard that Sean McVay does like him. I've heard Jalen Milroe is going to visit the Rams. He's obviously a project, but he's playing at his best. You guys saw it. I mean, he's electrifying. I don't know if he'll ever be consistent at that level. The Rams have a first this year. They don't have a second. They've got 2/3. So they got to make their first. Any direction Les Snead, the general manager, and Sean McVay go, I trust. I mean, they, knock on wood, they get these damn drafts right. I mean, you look at what Jared Verse was able to do as a rookie last year, Braden Fisk. I mean, the pressure of that defensive line and going back the year before, Byron Young out of Tennessee, I never saw the upside that those guys did. And I mean, they just find hidden gems all over the place. But I wouldn't mind seeing a playmaking tight end. I just don't know if you're going to get a playmaking tight end in the mid-20s where the Rams are drafting.
What about Quinn Ewers in the third?
I like everything about Quinn Ewers outside of again, a little inconsistent. And I just wonder if we've seen his ceiling. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like, how much better can Quinn get? Now, the thing, he's got a lot of confidence, carries himself well. Think he loves the game of football. I mean, all the intangibles I like. I just don't know how consistent he's going to be at that level.
Yeah. So you talk about tight end. You brought up Loveland, Warren. What about Gunnar Helm from Texas?
I mean, you going back to Quinn Ewers, it was the throw to Gunnar in overtime, right? The incredible throw that
beat Arizona State.
Yeah, I mean, that was because we were talking about, losses that have stuck with coaches over the offseason. And, Kenny Dillingham probably still hasn't gotten over that one. But, yeah, I think Gunnar's a really good tight. He's probably I guess Harold Fannin. He's probably the fourth tight end to come off the board. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a flyer at that guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good because he's grimy and tough and, football player. Love those dudes. What's your take on the NBA and the playoffs? Who you like?
This is crazy because I've said, I think this is the year the West is so wide open. I mean, you can make an argument now with Jimmy Butler for Golden State. Obviously, Luka coming over to the Lakers. I think Denver's got a point to prove now that Mike Malone is out. The Clippers, the way Kawhi is playing right now, I think the West is so wide open. But your heavy favorite to win the West, team with the best record in basketball, Oklahoma City, I think they're actually going to break through and they're finally going to win the West this year. But I think the Western Conference playoffs are going to be tremendous. So really looking forward to that. By the way, 2-0 in the NBA play-in games last night, 1-1 the night before. We are now 25-16 in Major League Baseball. So hitting about 66% of the time to start the season. We've got 2 plays up available right now, Major League Baseball. Free play up available at lanceslock.com. So we're rocking it out right now.
Lance'sLock.com, baby. So your Dodgers, Will Gasparino, the center fielder for the Texas Longhorns, his dad is the vice president of operations for the Dodgers. Just saying, Billy Gasparino.
So Gasparino looked to him to get drafted by the Dodgers one day.
I mean,
good chance.
I mean, Sproles got drafted by his old man at Dallas and never really panned out or hadn't panned out yet.
Hey, Gasparino, it could be the next Freddie Freeman.
Could be. We can only hope. I mean, that's what the Dodgers need is more talent, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, Lance, let me ask you about Jackson Arnold. Have you been hearing anything about him down there at Auburn? Because, you know, they're going to put up the video clips on X/Twitter and Jackson Arnold making a nice pass and Auburn fans are going crazy. So anything to that or what's going on?
I think Jackson Arnold's going to be really good. You know, I don't think Brent Venables really knows how to handle a quarterback. And one of the reasons they went out and got the offensive coordinator from Washington State, Ben Arbuckle, only 29 years old. But you bring in John Mateer, guy that put up really good numbers for the Cougars last year. But you go back to his first start against Auburn, he got benched before halftime. You know, Michael Hawkins comes in and leads them back. But, you know, there was no offensive line there. They gave up 50 sacks last year. Their top 5 wide receivers were down and out before the end of September. They didn't have a running back that went over 700 yards. So he didn't have a lot of skill around him. And I think now with what Hugh Freeze is doing in year 3, and there's a ton of pressure on Hugh Freeze, you've got Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons and these younger receivers, and then you bring in an Eric Singleton, a guy that can do it all from Georgia Tech. He's got playmakers. I think they're extremely excited about the skill, and I think they're excited about the upside of Jackson Arnold. I don't know. And look, and I really, really did I'm losing my train of thought because he was our NIL guy, starting quarterback for Auburn last year.
Peyton Thorne?
Yeah, Peyton Thorne from Michigan State. Peyton was awesome, like very transparent, just a fun guy to have on the air, but wasn't really consistent, turned the football over way too much. I think you're getting a major upgrade here in Jackson Arnold, and I think it was great that he's getting a change of location. I think Jackson Arnold's going to be one of the surprises of the SEC this year.
So you think Auburn finishes ahead of Alabama this year?
I do not think that, Chip. Not going to go that far, but I do think Auburn can go 8-4, 9-3, which Hugh really needs. Hugh still doesn't have a signature win in 2 years. You know, it was really close. I mean, you know, really close against Georgia 2 years ago. And Brock Bowers took that game over in the second half. Obviously, the Gravedigger 4th and 31 against Alabama, just one of the more miraculous plays in the history of that series. But Hugh doesn't have a signature win, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities this year. But I do think Auburn will be improved. I said that last year. The offense was kind of a mess. I think it'll be much better this year.
Speaking of Gravedigger, have you been following the Isaiah Bond situation?
I know he turned himself in. I don't know where that is right now. I think Bond probably would have been a second-round guy. But now I don't, you know, is he radioactive?
Right. Yeah. It's a he said, she said situation, and we'll see how that plays out. You just can't put yourself in that position, man.
Yeah, I know. You know, I would really hate to be I say this. I was going to say I would hate to be a successful young 20, 21-year-old athlete, but I would love to be that. I just know I would get myself in trouble on so many fronts. I made so many still make a lot of bad decisions. Made so many back then. I can't even imagine having that kind of money in your pocket. But yeah, shouldn't be in that situation.
All right. What's going on over at Lance's Lock?
Again, we're winning, Chip, over 66% right now early in baseball. We got 2 winners available right now. We've started the NBA postseason at 3-1. We're going to win for you. Tried and true. Jump on board, lanceslock.com. Free play every single day.
Hey, LT, appreciate you, man. Have a great Easter weekend.
Yeah, see you, boys. Thanks.
All
right. See you next week. There he goes. Lance Taylor, lanceslock.com for the picks. You heard him. He's on fire right now with the baseball, the NBA. So head on over there. And if you're into the wagers, it's a fun place to be. You know what I'm saying? Zay, let's get a couple of mentions in here, and then we'll get to the commentary on this Off the Rails Thursday. Hey, my snorers, it's time to get to the Sleep Cycle Center. See that right there? Sleep Cycle Center. Go to sleepcyclecenters.com. Here's the thing. We had Dr. Chad on last week. He was great. He explained why he's so passionate about treating sleep apnea because it killed his father at the age of 60. So I say it all the time. Snoring is not just annoying to the person next to you, sleeping next to you. It is a sign of a potential serious health risk. And you go to sleepcyclecenters.com and set up an appointment. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. Like, they want you to get in there, get diagnosed so that they can help you. And they've got, oral appliance treatments. I have one. I call it my mouth guard because it is a mouth guard that holds your lower jaw open while you sleep so that you're getting that oxygen, you're getting that deep sleep, and you're not gasping for air, waking yourself up constantly, sounding like a chainsaw. Dr. Chad there's no one better to go to because he cares so much about it. It's a life passion for him because of what happened with his dad. And they're right here in Austin, 2 locations, at one at the Arboretum, one in Lakeway. Just go to sleepcyclecenters.com and set up your appointment. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you, $100 off your sleep study, and you'll get the answers you need and the treatment you need. Hey, when you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, Tom McKay, audiovisual consultations. He's the man. He put up the 65-inch Samsung 4K TV that I nearly won. No, I'm just kidding. In the NCAA, Texas Sports Unfiltered NCAA tournament pick'em contest, but he's ready to bring you the best price on big screens, surround sound, a new media room, surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting. Don't be a hero and try to do this stuff yourself. You don't need to be lugging TVs around town, punching holes in your drywall. Let Tom and his crew bring everything to you. All you have to do is make one phone call. 255-8678. I'll say it again. 255-8678. Let Tom and his crew bring everything to you. And Cover 3. Hey, how about a little brunch this Easter weekend at Cover 3? Great brunch. Great. Do-it-yourself Bloody Mary bar. I love the muffin tops, not the whole muffin, just the top. It's amazing. I like the cinnamon and sugar, you know what I'm saying? But great food, great happy hour, $7 social hour menu, 3:30 to 6:30, happy hour every day, 3:30 to close on Mondays. Go get the Chop House Burger. Texas Monthly calls it one of the best in the state of Texas. And Texas Monthly knows what they're talking about because I love that burger. The Parmesan fries are amazing. They got locations on Anderson Lane, right in the heart of Austin, up in Round Rock off Old Settlers, and Cover 2 at 183 and Lake Creek. All right, let's get to the chip shot. I'm headed out to Dish Falk tonight for this top 10 showdown between number 1 Texas and number 8 Auburn. And Auburn they're on fire. They just swept LSU. LSU, I thought, was the best team in the SEC. I covered game 1 of that series. My man Eric Henry covered games 2 and 3. So I saw the loss. I thought LSU was pretty amazing, in large part because of Cade Anderson, their lefty pitcher, who's probably the best pitcher in the SEC. But Auburn, they are one of the best hitting teams. Their ERA is gettable, and Texas is going to have to do it possibly without Ethan Mendoza, who is their top hitter, batting .363, He's a leadoff man. He gets things going. He's been outstanding at second base. So on top of losing Max Ballou, your Big 12 Player of the Year last year, right fielder who broke his thumb diving, and on a diving catch, he made the catch. But they're hoping maybe to get him back for postseason. Then they were without Adrian Rodriguez for 7 games because he took a ball off the, it took a ball into a bad place in his upper body, and now he's back. He was playing in left field against Kentucky, but now with Mendoza, game time decision tonight, Rodriguez could be at second base, and Texas has got to get left field figured out. It is time for Easton Winfield to play like the player we saw at ULM last year. He's had enough time to adjust to being in the big show at Texas. He was one of their NIL acquisitions. He needs to come through. And, Tommy Farmer the fourth is doing an admirable job in right field. Both Farmer and Winfield need to pick it up at the plate. But the top of the lineup has been amazing. Zay said Rylan Galvan would be his MVP. Jim Schlossnagel said Rylan Galvan would be his MVP. Schlossnagel said there's never been a good team without a good catcher, and there's never been a great team without a great catcher. And he said the way Galvan manages the pitching staff, the way he brings juice to the dugout and at the plate, how hard he's worked on his swing with Troy Tulowitzki. He's not chasing anymore. He's waiting for those fastballs, and he's tied with Will Gasparino with 11 home runs and is top 8 in the SEC in home runs, on base percentage, OPS, slugging. So Galvan has been amazing, and and Kimball Schuessler. I don't think we've talked enough about Kimball Schuessler.
Haven't.
The guy he's fielding first base like an all-conference player. He's a former catcher, so he's used to, digging stuff out of the dirt. And Casey Borba seems to always bounce it over there. So, Schuessler's been amazing. He's getting it done with his bat too. But Galvan's got a 27-game on-base streak. Will Gasparino's got a 28-game on-base streak. Those guys have been getting it done for this team at the plate while the pitching staff has been amazing. So Jared Spencer tonight, guy was phenomenal in his last home game against Georgia. He went 7 innings, 11 strikeouts. Texas could really use that from him tonight because, the Texas pitching staff collectively is probably the MVP because the starters have all gone, 4, 5, 6, 7 innings, and that's allowed the middle relief to settle in, Max Grubbs. And then the praying mantis, Dylan Volantis, comes in and closes them out. So let's see how they handle this adversity. And this is a red hot Auburn team right now. So this is the second half of SEC play begins tonight. And Texas has been weathering all the storms. Let's see if they can put it together again tonight and this weekend. Remember, tonight, 7 o'clock, tomorrow, 6 o'clock. And then on Saturday at noon are those game times for number 1 Texas versus number 8 Auburn, Zay.
Hell yeah, let's go. Who's the MVP for you for this team?
I'd probably say Volantis because he has just shut people down. 1-run games. It doesn't matter if he inherits runners. The guy is just unflappable for a freshman to come in and do what he's doing. He's got one of the lowest ERAs in the nation for the number of innings he's pitched. He's got 24 strikeouts and 2 walks in SEC play. He's given up 2 runs in SEC play. I think he's been amazing. But if I had to pick, like a position player, it would be Galvan, because he's just, from the walk-off, against Georgia to managing this pitching staff, everything, the juice. He's, the guys love him. I mean, his teammates absolutely love him, and he's so humble and so, just a dog,
Yeah. Okay, I like it. Praying Mantis Volantis. That dude, when he becomes a starter, college baseball world, look out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because he's so confident in his ability to use that curveball for strikes. And they can't tell what it is, because it doesn't pop up like a curveball. It looks like a fastball, which is crazy. So let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. Before that, though, we got to get to these amazing sponsors like Leaf Landscape Supply. If you're looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, whether it's trendy house plants, collection of specialty plants, and rare plants, Leaf Landscape Supply is your one-stop shop for everything you need. 2 amazing locations here in Austin, Texas, one down south off 290 in Monterey Oaks, one up north off of Pond Springs Road, a full-service wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier. If you want to check out the types of items that they have, check them out on leaflandscapesupply.com, whether it's pottery or different seeds, tools, fruit, bamboo, back soil. They have everything you need. And when you mention your boys at TSU, Texas Sports Unfiltered, you get 10% off. 10% off if you mention your boy Zay Collier and the rest of the crew at Texas Sports Unfiltered at Leaf Landscape Supply when you make a purchase. And McCall Custom Homes. Thinking about renovating your home? Trust the experts. Don't trust those guys that don't know what they're doing, that don't have much experience. 50 years of combined experience for McCall Custom Homes. Licensed and insured, top quality and affordable in-house architects. They will handle the permitting process, and they will work with your insurance, and they will turn your home into something truly special. Mike and his pops and the crew at McCall Custom Homes are the best. If you want to check out their amazing work, check them out on Facebook and Instagram at McCall Custom Homes, and give our boy Mike a call at 512-633-9580. That's 512-633-9580, or shoot an email at mike@mccallcustomhomes.com. Visit their website at mccallcustomhomes.atx.com. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And Covert BK, Covert Automotive Dealership, they've been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years. That is a very long time. If you don't want to take my word for it, listen to the fine folks here on the commercial for Covert BK.
It's a family atmosphere. It's not just when you stop in, you buy your car.
From communication to expertise to professionalism, it's exactly what I expected from the Covert family.
So they make it so easy for me. That car that I wanted, they found it, and I didn't know if I can afford it, but they make it possible.
You'll see that they really will move mountains. They're going to do what they need to do to get you what you want and make sure you're happy with it.
Come and experience it for yourself.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. Yeah, I won't even ask this time, Roy. We're just going to assume he's back now. We're just going to let that be. You know what I'm saying? But little college basketball talk, since my man Coach 420 threw this out earlier in the show. Zay, you like Sean Miller looking to recruit more international players? Hell yeah, I do. If you've listened to this show anytime, I always say you got to go out of the states to get some of these guys. Lassina Traore, African brother. Get the African brothers chip. Bring them over, air up there. That's what I'm talking about, Kevin Bacon style. Bring them in, let them dominate. Yes, sir. That's
I want a woman who stimulates my mind as well as my loins.
Exactly. So Lassina Traore, that's big. They bring in Mathis from Lithuania. That's also big. But there's two guys that Texas should be looking at that I know for sure they're looking at right now that have entered the transfer portal that could be a big deal and really take this team to another level. The first one, RJ Lewis Jr., Big East Player of the Year, came from St. John's. Rick Pitino said, I'm not going to play you for the last 3 minutes in the biggest game of the year. RJ Lewis says, I don't need this crap. I'm gone. So while he's preparing for the NBA draft, he already has these visits scheduled. Arizona, Auburn, Iowa State, Georgetown, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Providence, Michigan State, Houston, and the University of Texas. So this guy, I'm sure, is going to be asking for a lot of Skrilla. That's the only thing that really scares you. Like, yeah, you're Big East Player of the Year. RJ Lewis could hoop. And he's also going through the NBA draft process. So who knows what kind of feedback he's going to get from there. So that's somebody to keep your eye on. And the other one is Peja Stojakovic's son, Andre Stojakovic, has also entered the portal from Cal Berkeley. He averaged 17 minutes a game or 17 points a game. And he was thinking about Texas coming out of high school. That was top 5 on his list. And he decided to go to Stanford instead. He's a Cali kid, which him being up towards the Bay Area, especially with where his pops, has those skins on the wall playing for the Kings, that makes sense. But now you went to Stanford, you went to Cal Berkeley. Now you want to play for a team that's actually going to make the tournament. If I'm Sean Miller, I am really looking at little Stojakovic. That dude could ball. Great genes, too. Peja was the man. Peja could hoop. Peja was serious. He was a part of that 2011 Mavs team that you like to talk about, Chip, when my boy Dirk put everybody on his back. Peja hit some huge shots during that playoff run. And the son, he's got that dog in him too. He's about 6'7", can shoot the lights out. So Lewis Jr. and Stojakovic are a couple of players that Texas definitely needs to have their eye on. If they could bring in one of those guys, that would be huge. If they could bring in both of them, we're talking Final Four type stuff right here. Like, again, I might be getting a little over my skis a little bit, but both of those players, hella talented. I like them both. Sean Miller, he's done a solid job since he's been here for the last 23 days. He was talking up with what's my man's name? Gosh darn it. I'm losing my train of thought. He just got interviewed. It's going to drive me crazy. Either way, Sean Miller being seen. DJ Hagway, yeah, the kid from Memphis that CB's talking about. Or Haggerty, he could play a little bit. That would also be a good get.
The Lassina Traore, I love this guy because, obviously he's got to come back from that knee, but those you expect guys to come back from knee injuries. The fact that he averaged 10-plus boards for an entire season back-to-back years. Yeah, it was at Long Beach. This dude, if you watch video of him, he's a dog. Like, he gets after it. And he brings a presence to the floor. Like, there's no, I'm going to go for this. No. He's all in. And if this dude is playing the way he was playing at Long Beach, and, Sean Miller said he would have absolutely been the starter at Xavier if he didn't have the knee injury last October. I love his presence. He's like a more skilled version of James Thomas. Tough. Like, this is my rebound. And Texas just hasn't had guys like that. You know, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but you got to have a guy that's like, no one's getting these boards but me. And he can score. I mean, he's good around the basket. So if that kid can get back to form, that's a huge pickup. He brings veteran presence, you know, because you've got the 7-footer from Florida Atlantic, but you know, Traore, he's done it. So
yeah, I'm excited about the bigs. Want to see what that power forward position, how that all comes together, you know, because right now it's really just Nick Cody. I think Cam High could play a little bit of power forward, but he's only 6'7", so it's undersized. I know Kelvin Sampson, he has a bunch of 6'7" brothers flying around as a power forward. Like, if you get somebody like that, that'd be huge. But the guard spot is looking good. Again, Lewis Jr., RJ Lewis Jr., Stojakovic, both those dudes could improve your ball club. I've always liked Stojakovic. That dude, he could hoop. I don't know why he keeps going to these horrible schools for basketball like Stanford and Cal Berkeley, but whatever. He's a Northern California kid, so he wants to stay close to home. But now it might be time to get out the state, man. Get out the state, see what's out there. I'm sure Sean Miller will find a spot for you. You know
what I like about Camden Heide? He shoots the 3.
Does he?
Yeah. He's a 6'7" guy who's averaged 41% from 3. And
Matt Painter didn't even let him shoot last year. About 4 points a game.
Right.
Where was the disconnect there? I mean, is it Hyde or Heidi, by the way? Because I've heard both.
Yeah. I was talking to a Purdue fan who said Heidi, so.
Okay, because I've said Heidi, then Hank came on and said Hyde, so he got me in my own head, and I was like, I feel like it's Heidi. I feel like I've heard Heidi, but Hyde would make sense too, the E being silent there. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Either way, yeah, he's probably wondering, hey, Coach Painter, I could shoot here. Why the hell am I not getting these opportunities to shoot? Because I know he'll dunk on your ass. Like, he had that nasty tip dunk in the national championship game last year, and Cam Heidi, hi, whatever. The dude's got some bunnies. So I'd like to see that on full display in a Texas uniform, but we'll see. Like, but let him shoot that thing, Sean Miller. Let him see what it's about. Like, let's see how that goes. Yeah. By the way, a lot of these rankings out here for women's basketball, they got Aaliyah Chavez falling out of that number 1 spot. So that makes me feel better. She's still like top 5, but that makes me feel a little bit better that some of these media outlets are saying that, okay, she's good, but there's others that might be better. So her going to Oklahoma and all, I need something to help me sleep at night, and that definitely helps. That's definitely my version of melatonin right there, knowing that she might not be as good as everybody's saying, because I still think she's a extreme talent and a game-changing player, but you never know.
Well, let's bring in the boys from Open Gym, baby. Patrick Davis, Matt Galatzan. What's up, fellas?
Hey, guys. By the way, Cam Heidi, from all the research I have done on it, is Cam Heidi.
Heidi.
Heidi is what I've seen in every interview with him standing there. So
okay.
That's what I'm going to go with. I'm trying to figure out his name, how to pronounce his name, the same way you guys are. I think the big question today is, when we see all these other names, who do you let go? Because there ain't 30 more minutes at any position for some of these big names that people are looking at. And Stojakovic or any of these other guys, they're going to want 30 minutes a game. There ain't 30 minutes available right now.
They'd be good with like 25, 23.
Swain probably wants about 25. Tremont Mark wants 35. Jordan Pope wants at least 20. He's going to get 8. He's going to be gone. Just saying. We'll talk about it a little bit on the show, but I'm just saying there's not a ton of minutes, and these guys want minutes. That's why they transfer. They transfer for minutes.
Good point.
It's money and minutes. That's what matters in the transfer portal. And so for Texas, he's already promised some of them minutes out, and I don't know if he may have to go back on his word on some of them minutes.
Yeah, go back. Especially if Jordan Pope's asking for 20. Reel that back in.
Just telling you. Jordan Pope asked for probably 30 last year.
Hell no.
20 now.
Hey,
Julian Larry got like 15. Come on, man. We got
Hey, happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter,
Happy
man.
Easter,
We will
Chip.
see y'all
Happy
next
Easter,
week.
Zach.
Back Monday.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Welcome into Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered, Monday through Thursday this week, but Monday through Friday here on 4 to 6 p.m. here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. We'll be off tomorrow as well for Good Friday with everybody else, but we're here today. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. What's going on, CB? We've got a lot going on. More transfer portal things are still coming in, and hopefully more will come in during the show, but we'll go back on the transfer portal, and we'll just have a little bit of fun here on a Thursday that's really a Friday for us as we head to the weekend and enjoy a 3-day weekend and an Easter weekend. Matt, it's been a good week so far. How's life? You don't have the Masters this weekend. Do you have any plans for Easter weekend?
Yes, I am going to Tampa, Florida to spend Easter with my girlfriend and her family. So it's the first time I'm meeting her entire family. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm only slightly nervous.
Yeah, that's a rough one because you're like, look, I'm good at it. We're all good. Everything's going to be fine. But if there's just one wild card in this group, it could be a long weekend. If there's just an uncle or cousin or somebody that wants to make my life a living hell, this could be a long one. So I wish you luck.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that happening. I think it's going to go very smoothly, but you never know. You never know. It's an Easter week. Are they going to get the Easter egg hunt and everything planned out for some kids, or is it just relaxing? I think it's just relaxing for the most part. So it's just going to be like, margaritas and going out to eat, by the beach and that kind of deal. So it'll be all right.
Yeah, I think the fun one is to start drinking and then do the Easter egg hunt, but hide them, then drink, then do the Easter egg hunt, and then watch as the adults cannot remember where they hid them as they're trying to tell the kids. They're giving them hints, and they're like, there's nothing there. That's always a blast. I enjoy that part of the Easter always. It's a fun one.
I'll keep that one in my back pocket for sure.
We'll get into tonight. I want to talk a little bit more about the transfer portal. I want to talk about it was Bill Belichick's birthday yesterday, and there's not great news coming out of UNC yesterday football. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Also, we can talk a little Shedeur Sanders getting his number retired because that's on the tip of everybody's tongue today, and that's kind of nonsense that's happening. We've also got Matt's Bourbon Banter coming back since there is no show tomorrow. We'll do that today. Dane Brugler from The Athletic put out a mock draft of all 7 rounds. We can go through that one, tell you where the Longhorns are in that one, what the Cowboys and Texans are doing. And we got NBA action as well, since we will not know who's in it, but we'll give you our predictions before we get to the end of the show. All of that and more coming up, and whatever else you guys want to bring up. Text line's open 512-222-9328. Or there on the chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X if you want to join the conversation there. It's open today. It's open gym, so we welcome you to join us today. And let's get right into the transfer portal, Matt. And you had a name you sent me right before we came on that there is a little traction in Texas football. Why don't you go ahead and share what our first name of the day is in Texas football?
Yeah, so 24/7 Sports and our guy Jordan Scruggs on Texas Sports Unfiltered was first to report this, to my knowledge. But Maryland defensive line transfer Levon Johnson is going to be in Austin to see Texas today. He has already released a graphic on social media that, showing all the teams he's interested in. Texas is one of them. And I believe that they're going to be his first visit out of the bunch. Other schools in there, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, Indiana, Utah, and a couple other ones in there. So He's 6'2", 311 pounds. I don't have his stats pulled up yet. I'll pull those up. Oh, here we go. I got him now. 120 defensive snaps, 5 special team snaps as a true freshman in 2023. In 2024, he had 164 defensive snaps, 29 on special teams in 8 games, had 14 tackles. So he's a little, lightly used, but he's still got some time left, and he's a big body that they can add to that rotation and hopefully, give them a little bit more depth where they one of their positions of need in the transfer portal. So not a bad deal. Always good to have some big humans in there when you can.
No, and we've talked about it that seemed like the defensive line, interior defensive line, wide receiver, and tight end are the positions we thought they would be most active at. And it looks like those are the first 3 positions we're really hearing about. They've already brought in a wide receiver. There's a tight end that is his name has already been tied to Texas, and at least people that cover Texas believe that this may already be a more done deal, that he would be heading over to Texas to be the new tight end or one of the tight ends in the rotation. That is Jack Indries from Cal. A lot of people believe that he will be ending up at Texas. They've already got a wide receiver from Stanford because the coach left. They could get him a little bit earlier, so they are able to pick him up as well. Emmett Mosley, a lot of good things being said about him as well. But no huge surprises yet of anybody they've gone for. You haven't seen any major shocking twists and turns so far in the transfer portal for Texas. Their name is probably being thrown around a lot. Their name is they're going out and trying to do their due diligence, but I don't think they're trying to rush anything. And they had a wide receiver that they liked, that they thought we could do some big things. I know everybody was posting videos of him blocking today, so you got to see that type of stuff from him, which always makes you feel good. And then you get a tight end that can kind of do everything as well. So now whatever else comes in the portal, you kind of play around a little bit more. You want to add a defensive lineman probably too, but you're feeling pretty good. You can play around a little bit right now.
Yeah. You feel great about where they're sitting right now. I still think that if the right wide receiver enters the portal, that they might take a look at him. But as it stands right now, even if they don't, bring this guy from Maryland in, then they're still sitting pretty. I think on the defensive line, it's not the deepest unit necessarily, but you got a lot of talent. So you'd be a little bit more pressed if one of these other guys that you brought in, like North Carolina guy or Hero Canoe out of Ohio State or Cole Brevard from Purdue get injured. But at the same time, Alex January is really making a name for himself so far this spring. They're really impressed with him. You always have Justice Terry, that true freshman, in there. So, there's talent there. But I think that they're in a really, really good spot, and I feel much better today than I did, a week ago before the Mosley news and the tight end news and all that stuff. So they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think you wanted to see, that's what you wanted to see out of this Texas football team in the transfer portal, was at least addressing needs and then figuring it out from there. We'll get into it a little bit. What I just said, there is a certain amount of, you have to be careful because there is only one ball that's going to be in play at all time. And there's only 11 positions on the defense that you can put guys out in. So you don't want to over recruit at points, but I think that they're, they know what they're doing well enough. They want to bring in a couple guys. There's not tampering, but there's tampering and everything. So we know that there's, they've already talked and have some good views of who's going to be in this portal. There could be some surprises that maybe what they'll get into with a wide receiver. If there's somebody who's a little bit older who jumps in and wants to get a payday at the end, maybe if they feel that's the right thing to do, they can do that. But pretty good day there for Texas in the transfer portal for football. We got the Nico news as well, that I don't believe the deal is officially finalized yet. I don't think we've seen the UCLA deal. We keep hearing it's reported that it's done and then not reported that it's not done, that the money is well less than what they wanted it to be. But then they're saying it's not about the money, it's about the playbook because they want a more pro-style playbook. I am really thrown off in the fact that they keep saying that Nico wants to play because it's going to be more of a Sark-style playbook that they'll be running at UCLA. Is a phrase I keep hearing, is a Sark-style playbook, and that will get him ready for the NFL. And if I was looking at where Quinn was being mocked at it some places. I may say that maybe not be what I want to go play as. I don't think it did as much for him as people seem to think it would. But it's an interesting piece right now with all of that, because it does feel the offer they're saying is 1.75. And, there's a lot of it's weird because in today's media and everything else, you get so much crap that there is no basis for it. And you can't really fact check it. So, you just hear oh, this is what Nico's camp said now. And because of everything else that's happened, it's easier to believe, but it's also probably mostly BS by someone just trying to get clicks. So it's been a little rough because everyone is going after him right now. But it does feel like this is going to be one of those decisions in college football that's going to be really interesting until about week 4. And we remember he's playing in UCLA, and we're just not watching UCLA football.
Yeah, I don't think too many people are going to be tuning into the Bruins next fall, even with Nico there. But it was interesting what Pete Nako said about the situation. He said on Thursday morning that UCLA is using Iamaleava as a portal recruiting tactic with agents. So I don't know what that means exactly, but it does not sound like they're overly that committed to bringing him in. Which is kind of a bad look for him and his camp at the same time. So I don't really know what that means necessarily.
Could that mean that they're trying to get wide receivers too, and they're trying to add some more pieces because, look, we're getting this really good quarterback. Doesn't everybody want to come play with him?
It could mean that, or it could mean that they're using it as a tactic to drive a price down on a different quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. The phrasing isn't exactly clear, but what I do know is that whatever quarterback that if they're looking at another quarterback outside of Nico, that Nico's probably the more talented option.
Yeah.
Because physically speaking and arm talent wise, he's as talented as any quarterback in the country. So I'm not really sure where that is going, but I would, if I'm UCLA, I don't touch it. If I'm any school in a power conference, I don't touch it. I think that one of the best things that could possibly happen for college football is if Nico has to end up at some group of 5 school, like Tulane would have been a good one, but they're already out on him. Or another group of 5 school like an SM, or not SMU, they're ACC now, which I always forget. But same deal. Any group of 5 school, it would really send a message to these kids that are looking to make a big payday and leave their school in the dust late in the process that hey, we're not really going to accept this at a Power 5 school. We're going to move forward and we're going to find somebody else. You can go, find wherever you want to play because we're not going to stand for it.
Yeah, I think because look, there's 2 sides of it where there's reasons of it where I'm not as mad at him for, you can go negotiate. The not showing up part, that's where it all went downhill really, really quick. Was not showing up to meetings, not holding your end of the NIL on the other side, those reports. That's where it becomes more of a problem. The rest of it is just, I get it. You were wanting to negotiate. You got bad advice from somebody, and that shouldn't hold over your whole career. Go play at UCLA, but it's a step down from playing at the SEC and Tennessee, where you were in a college football playoff last year, to a UCLA team that is having tons and tons of trouble getting. Chip Kelly left UCLA just because he didn't want to be there anymore. He was done with it. He didn't want to recruit there. He lost his love of football, went to Ohio State to say, get me the hell out of here. I don't want to be here. That's where that program was at. And I get they still have some money around it. You can go get a quarterback, but I don't know if they're going to have the pieces to do any sort of a run. You're going to be traveling nonstop. It's going to be a much more brutal year. I'm fine with him ending up there. I think if he ends up at a smaller level, it becomes a bit more of that sacrificial lamb of we have to make a point out of this. I don't think you have to make a point out of it. I think the point is already made. You're losing money by doing this. You made a bad decision and you're going to lose money by doing it. And everyone's going to view you differently for forever. So I think that there's parts of that where you can say he's already lost and I don't need him to be fully embarrassed. I don't need him to be shoved down to a level, because here's the other thing. At UCLA, he'll still suck. If he goes, if he goes down, he'll win the conference. He can help raise another team to a higher level and then look really good. And then someone will shell out $3 or $4 million for him next year. And so I think if he just goes to UCLA and they're like, 7-6 or whatever, 7-5, something like that, I think that, it kind of drops off everything after that. And if he, throws a couple more picks there because the receivers aren't in the right spot, all those pieces, people aren't watching his games, that's the punishment right there. When your draft stock drops pretty precipitously because you try to move into something with not the same level of coaches, with not the same level of talent around you, that's it. He's already going to get hurt if he goes there. I know that there is a bit of like make him suffer for doing something wrong, but overall, you're already screwed. And I think that there was a lot of it that was bad advice given to him. And so maybe I'm not holding him fully onto it. Maybe it was him. Maybe he is just a punk kid. But I know at a young age like that, sometimes someone gets in your ear and tells you, no, man, this guy's making $7 million. This guy's making $9 million. This guy's making $20 million. And what are you doing? We just saw Syracuse's coach come out, Fran Brown come out and go, you want to make $2 million at wide receiver? There's one kid making it. So go be him or shut up. And I think that I think there's probably 15, 20 kids in the portal every year who think they can make $3 million at wide receiver, and that money's not there. So part of it is, again, there needs to be some sort of regulations around this. There needs to be something around the agents. There needs to be something where you can't just have guys coming in, taking 20, 25% of a guy's earnings and then leading him down rabbit holes and leading him down bad alleys because an agent's just trying to make money, even though he's not a reputable guy. So there's a lot that goes into it. And at the end of the day, he's already kind of screwed. He's already got a punishment.
I don't think Nico is a punk kid by any sense. And I'm not trying to say that he is either. But I think it's more of a case is that his dad is a punk more than anything else. And he's gotten some bad advice. But you still need to set a precedent in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's already kind of been set based on what's going to happen with him that, this isn't the NFL. You can't hold out and renegotiate your contract in the middle of spring training or we're just going to move on. We'll find somebody else. We'll go into the portal and we have a guy on, especially with Tennessee, they already have another guy on campus that they're really, confident in. He's not as experienced now because he hasn't played as much, but they're perfectly fine going forward with this guy for their future because they don't want to be, held over a barrel for a couple $1 million for a quarterback who really wasn't all that great last year. Yeah. So as long as the precedent is set and this sort of kickstarts the need for restraints and guidelines in NIL and in the portal and all those things, and I'm all for it. I don't want his career to be ruined. I don't want him to go, from being a potential first round draft pick one day to being a 7th round pick and a practice squad guy just because his dad gave him some bad advice. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm really proud of Tennessee for holding their ground and not giving in to the demands of a kid who really hasn't proven anything.
Or not drawing it out.
That he can throw the ball 80 yards in the air.
Yeah, and not drawing it out, not letting it become the circus that kind of hurts your entire team, showing that, well, we really need you. Saying it's done, we'll go get another quarterback. We've got the budget now that you're gone. We'll go get somebody else. We'll start over. Let's wipe it clean slate. Good, best of luck to you in your future endeavors. Mm-hmm. And walk away and just have that attitude towards it. I think they handled it perfectly well. Now, you'd like to see them still be able to be in the top half of the SEC and still compete, because if they don't, that also sets a dangerous precedent that, maybe they should have. Maybe they should have paid him because they had a chance to go compete. And now they're losing games they wouldn't have. It's that back and forth. And at the end of the day, too, NIL isn't really necessarily always just the coaches and the general managers. You also got to remember, it's somewhat of a billionaire playbox, too, that if these guys decide, I want to give that money and I want to have control over my team, you have a bunch of mini Jerry Joneses out there that are trying to make decisions for teams. And you have to deal with that as well, that if someone says, I'm donating $25 million, I want that kid. You can't, it's hard to walk up to him and say, well, this is the wrong thing to do. So you have to have those conversations as well. And depending on what happens this season, if Nico struggles and Tennessee does well, I think it'll shift things one way. If Tennessee and Nico struggle, it'll shift it a different way. And if Nico kicks butt and Tennessee sucks, it is going to shift it very much into the players. Because billionaires will say, nope, get the best players. Coaches suck now. Coaches don't matter. Get billionaires. And I mean, it'll start shifting a different way. So it'll be interesting to watch this season. I don't think he's going to be able to do enough in UCLA. As Hair the Dog says, UCLA is not going to spend the money to go build him a team around himself. He's going to have to do it by himself. He's got to learn a whole new playbook without spring. He's going to have other transfers coming in with him. It's just going to be a really hard road for him to get anything going this season. And I know in his head, he'd really like to go to the NFL as soon as possible because he's already ruined his reputation in college football as of right now. And he wants to be the number 1 overall pick and go make that NFL money and go play with the talent he thinks he should be playing with. So, this is going to be an interesting experiment and a fun one for people like us that cover the sport to see where the experiment goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And this really also says something for a player like Quinn or a player like Arch, who is just riding out the process and sticking to their guns and not being lured out by NIL to another university just because they're probably going to offer, $6-7 million for a quarterback. Like, the reports around Quinn last year with that Michigan State thing were absolutely absurd. But had he been drawn out by that, he could have very well stayed another year in college and made more money than he will as a 3rd round pick in the NFL draft. But he's like, nope, I'm the Texas quarterback. I'm going to ride it. I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to finish this year, and then I'm going to go to the pros, and I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to work. And that's the kind of thing that really endears you to an NFL franchise. It's not, hey, I'm just searching for my next paycheck, and I'm a mercenary, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go there. I don't care who I upset along the way. So, it's unfortunate for Nico that this whole thing has happened. You wish that these kids could get some better advice and some more structured, sort of agents and things like that could give them some real advice as opposed to just chasing paychecks. Because, at the end of the day, whether it's your dad giving you the advice or the agent giving you the advice, these guys are way too involved in the negotiations for a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid who really doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
He's listened to his dad his whole life. So he's like, okay, my dad said this, so this is what I'm going to do. And now he's in a position where his career could be in jeopardy in terms of the NFL draft or whatever. And it really just sucks for him. So, like I said, I hope this just kickstarts some rules and regulations around NIL and the transfer portal. And I think it probably could.
Yeah, no, I think that. And what's interesting too is the discussion about parents and the discussion about Arch not doing things and not needing the money, which sends us over to basketball now. Because one of the transfers that jumped into the portal today, who is transferred to, 2 straight years now, is pretty interesting name that you wouldn't necessarily think would be jumping in the portal every year, which is Andrei Stojakovic, who is Peja Stojakovic's kid, who had a very healthy and long NFL or NBA career. And now he has spent the last 2 years shifting from school to school, which again tells you a little bit more about the model of college basketball now. That there's certain players who believe, let me go play with different coaches. Let me go where I get in different lineups. Let me try and move around and see where I can really find my ground and find the best place for me to be before I go to the NBA. And, he pondered going to the NBA this season. He's an interesting guy that did look at Texas and chose Stanford over Texas a couple years ago. Now, granted, that was a different coaching staff. That was, a completely different team. So there's some different things to it. So he may like the school, but how much of that was coaching? How much was the school? And what does he feel about Sean Miller? But it's an interesting point because you look at Andrei Stojakovic and you wonder, well, what's the NIL on this? Is he somebody that is going around and wants to keep getting the pay raise? Is he a 1.5 million player? Is he a $2 million player? Is that what he's looking to get, which is someone that scores around that much, is probably around 1 to 1.5 million a year. So is that what he's looking for? Or is he somebody that just wants to move around and get a better education, is okay with the 1 million and says, I know I'm going to get paid, but I don't need to be overpaid. This isn't just about me going find the bigger NIL deals. See, that's why I think he's one of the more interesting names. However, what we talked about setting up the show there with Chip and Zay, money is part of it. Minutes are another big part. That's why we see so many kids. That's why Devin Pryor transferred. Devin Pryor didn't necessarily transfer because of Sean Miller. He didn't necessarily transfer because he didn't like Texas, the university, or Austin, or any of that. But he knew he was not getting minutes in the next year, and he wants some minutes. And I get it. It's really hard to get better at basketball if you don't ever see the court. because even if you're practicing hard and you're going in there and practice every day, when you go on the court and you play against different players and better players and players with different skills, you learn how to do different things. You learn how to protect yourself from ball thieves. You learn how to protect yourself from shot blockers. You learn how to use your body. You learn how to play defense against guys who draw fouls. You learn how to do all these different things around it. And so for Texas, it's a little bit, for now, you're sitting at a point where you were, everyone was lauding you 2 weeks ago because, man, you retained all these players. And now there's some names out on this board as we're getting to the end of the transfer portal. And we say you still don't really have the guy on this team. And now some guys that are a lot closer to the guy than maybe some of the guys you have are starting to become available. And you have to ask yourself, are you okay going back to some of the guys you talked to? So go to a Jordan Pope, say, man, your minutes are going to come down a little bit. Sorry about we got to let you go. We got to cut your minutes down. I know, talk to a Cam Heide and say, well, we're going to play Dalen Swain a lot at the 4 this year and then kind of rotate Modest and Traore at this 5 a little bit more, but we're going to run a little bit smaller lineup. And so you're going to play some, and if you play well, you'll get some more minutes, but I can't give you more than Purdue gave you. And I don't think he comes to Texas if he thinks he's playing the same as he played at Purdue. Do you?
I mean, probably not, but that depends. I don't know whether or not he's already signed.
Yeah.
If he's already signed, then that's a different deal because I don't think he can go back into the portal at that point. But, you bring up a good point because this isn't football. There isn't 85 spots on the roster. There's 13 spots on the roster, 15 if you're lucky. So in a position where, they're already pretty filled at forward, it's really going to be hard to find some minutes for some of these guys that they're looking, that they could potentially look at bringing in, like a Stojakovic. Now, if they brought in a Stojakovic, he's probably better than most of the players they have on the roster right now anyway. So maybe you look at one of these other guys and you're like, okay, I really appreciate you announcing that you're going to come back, but maybe you should start to look at your options elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that's exactly that's kind of a double-edged sword as well, because it doesn't, players who are looking at you in the portal elsewhere will see that and they'll be like, well, if I get there, if I decide to go there, then, he might cut bait with me in a year from now if I'm not doing well enough, or if I haven't developed well enough. So it's a double-edged sword, but sometimes it's a risk that you have to take.
It is. And so a couple of the names that went into the portal that we saw today that are players that would be probably steps up in some positions. The weird one, and I doubt Texas is even going to look at him because he's already 25 years old, is Chad Baker-Mazara. He was a 6'7" guard out of Auburn who had a really big game against Florida, scored 18 against Florida in the Final Four. He averaged 12.3 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game. He's a 38% three-point shooter. He's everything you'd like, except for the fact he's 25 years old and is not going to like being used in the position that they would probably want to use him in, which is finding your spot. And when you're playing well, we're going to play you. I think he wants to go be the star in somebody's team right now. And that's what he knew he couldn't do at Auburn, is let me go show that I can average 20 points a game and maybe get my, a better shot to go to the NBA. Because at 26 years old, when he's going to go into the NBA draft next season, it's a hefty task to get picked up by the NBA at that point, because they're just like, well, we'll take someone with upside at this point than somebody that we know what you're going to be. But I could see that. So I don't think he would necessarily come in. He's also that 6'7" guard, which is nice to get a 6'7" guard, but they've already got a lot of players in that world. Another name we saw pop in, or that Texas, which he had already been in, then committed to Virginia. Then Virginia got some other players, and he backed himself out of Virginia, is Duke Miles, a kid who played for Oklahoma last year. He's a 6'2" guard, senior, who's still playing, and another guy that's been around for a while. He's on his COVID year right now at the, playing his last year. He averaged 9.4 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game, and shot 43% from the three-point range last season to Duke Miles. So another guy who falls into the range where you want him, but how many minutes can you really give him? Because he's not a great player, but he can do some things. So if he fell in the right role for you and is willing to do that, then he's a really good pickup, right? for this Texas team. He can shoot some threes for you. He can run some point for you. He can do some different things on the court, plays hard and tough. He was the guy that if you saw him this year, did a face plant on the floor at one point, diving for a ball and broke his teeth out in the game. So he'll go out there and hustle and go get you some. But the problem is, again, he's a senior. He's on his COVID year. Does he want to go in and compete for minutes, or does he want a little bit more, of a requirement in his pitch that he wants to see this happen? Andrei Stojakovic is what we just talked about, 6'7" sophomore guard, 17.9 points per game, 4.7 rebounds per game. He only shot 32% from three, which is not great. It's not bad. He could get better at it, but he's scored in a lot of different ways. He's a really good basketball player. But again, he's falling into that world of you've already got some other guys kind of like that. He's much more like a Tremont Mark kind of player, probably not as good defensively, but maybe a little bit better offensively. But you've already got that, and he's already on the roster. So what do you do to make that work? Where, again, he's only a sophomore. He's got 2 years left, but he don't want to play 2 more years. The word on the street is that he'd like to play 1 more and go to the NBA. So you're probably looking at him when he averaged almost 18 points per game last year to try and up that. And at Texas, that doesn't seem as likely, right? And one more name we'll give you is PJ Haggerty. Now, this guy is the guy that I say you go back on some things for. This is the guy and right now that I say if you were going to go back on your word to anybody, and if you were going to change some things up and you want a more elite scorer, he led college D1 in scoring last year with 21.7 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists per game, 1.8 steals per game. He shot 36% from three. He checks a lot of the boxes of what you'd want at that guard position. And putting him into an exciting offense like Sean Miller's, it feels like this guy could be a really big weapon for Texas and be that guy that makes you really feel like now there's somebody that can do something in the half court. Because that's really where Texas is struggling right now, in my mind, is in that half-court offense. If teams can slow you down, I don't know how they're going to be able to score at a high clip. So that's a name that if you see now, we don't know if anybody's going to talk to him. His price tag, I've heard, is around $3 million. There's already suitors that have gone to him before he was in the portal that have apparently offered him around $3 million. I don't know if Texas is going to pony up that kind of money, but that is the type of player that changes the complexion of next season.
Yeah, I mean, is he a guy that could run the point? That's my biggest question.
Yeah, I mean, and again, in this offense, everybody can run the point at this point because there isn't a true point guard on this roster. So is he the best point guard in the world? No, they had Tyrese Hunter on this Memphis team that was running the point for them last year that came from Texas. So they had somebody else running it. He ran shooting guard more to score. He ran off the ball. Again, you don't really have that luxury. Ryan Conwell as well was a shooting guard that played point for Xavier a lot last year.
Okay. So, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, you kind of have to look at it this way. And given that he's not a traditional point guard or whatever, you don't have one on the roster. This would be an immediate upgrade over Jordan Pope. He's a bigger guy. He scores at a higher clip. He's much more explosive. He's probably the closest and I'm not saying that he is, so nobody clip this and say that Matt's calling him, anything crazy. But he's probably the closest thing to Trey Johnson that you're going to get in the transfer portal that can give you a legit, number one scorer, electric player offensively. Like that, it's the closest thing just because he's the only one available that you have a realistic shot at getting. And yeah, the $3 million is a big price tag, but he is from Texas. Maybe he wants to be closer to home, which is something that you have to consider. But averaging over 21 points a game 2 seasons in a row, like this guy can score against anybody. So you need to have that guy on the roster. So if Sean Miller really wants to make the tournament and go to the round of 32 or the round of Sweet 16 in year 1, then yes, that's exactly what I said. If Sean Miller really wants to, buck the trend and get the Longhorns to the Sweet 16 in year 1, this is your best chance to do it is by getting a player of this caliber. And will he be around for 2 years? No, he'll probably go to the NBA after 1 year. But he is the best scorer in the country, and you could have an opportunity to go get the best scorer in college basketball, and that's something that you don't want to be cheap about.
No, and It does. It just takes this Texas roster that has a lot of good players, and it puts somebody that has the ability to be better. I don't know how this team scores in the half court right now, like consistently. I get they can, but you're talking about Dalen Swain, who cuts to the basket, and you're talking about Kendall Weaver, who cuts to the basket, and you're talking about Tremont Mark, who cuts to the basket, and you're talking about Modest Voigtitis, who's going to be underneath the basket, and Traore, who's going to be underneath the basket. And it's just, there's not a lot. And I mean, Jordan Pope can shoot a little bit, but he can't get his own shot out there. And so, you know, I just don't know how you're going to build this offense up when there's a lot of guys who can't do too much offensively, and a lot of guys who are just not going to be super threats offensively. They're going to be a better defensive team. And I know it's funny because Sean Miller was much more of an offensive coach, Xavier, the second time, but old school Sean Miller was a very defensive coach as well. He can coach both sides of the ball. I think that there's a point to it of you're going to be building this identity on trying to be a decent defensive team and then get out in transition and run the ball a lot, which is why you don't expect to see Traore and Voigtitis on the court a lot, why you expect to play those smaller lineups with Heidi at 4 and with Swain at 4, because those guys can run and jump and fly in transition. The problem is those same lineups, if they're allowing points on the other end, if you start playing one of these teams that can score, if you're playing in Alabama or a Florida or one of these teams that just scores in buckets, then what are you going to do when you have to get in the half court? That's how you got blown out last year. And you had Trey Johnson, who could score in the half court. So I think you really still want to add somebody that you feel is a legit, can create their own shot and do some things in the half court that makes people double team them, that makes people have to go take things away. When Texas was really good, they started to really try and shut down Trey Johnson, and Tremont Mark now had time and space to work because they're doubling off and all they're watching is Trey Johnson. So Tremont Mark can get to the basket a lot easier because they're playing weak side and strong side with the big man, depending on where Trey Johnson is. So you just move him around, and the center is going to move with him defensively, and you can do a little bit more with what you want to do. And so I think that's, you know, at the end of the day, you have to bring in somebody else if you really want to compete next year. I understand that may not be in the cards. That may not be what Texas wants to do this year. They don't want to spend that amount of money. They want to build that they are going to be big about retention. They want to build a culture there first before they go out and bring in some guys who are going to kind of set their own tones. I get all that. And that if that's what it is, I know you can't say anything. We'll know. But I won't be the one to sit here and be overly excited about what it is. Say, no, we'll have a fun season. They'll be okay. They're going to lose a lot of games, though, especially in conference play. They just don't have the talent right now to score in the half court. And there's a couple names that popped in today. You may see a couple more. I mean, we're talking about a couple days left in this transfer portal that's open. So everyone now who's a senior who maybe didn't get that NIL package or saw what that roster is next year and sees that there's some openings, I think there's a lot of teams where you don't even have to tamper so much that there's teams that are calling right now because they're starting to freak out, and their boosters and donors are looking at their roster and saying, this isn't an Elite 8 roster. This isn't a Sweet 16 roster. We got to go get somebody else. And that's when they start making those phone calls and guys start jumping in the portal. But Texas is still got to make some moves. And, you know, it's going to be really telling to see, do they just go out and try and get a Duke Miles, who's a good player and, you know, can play well? Are they sticking with Devin Hade? That's a name you still see. He's expected to make a decision soon and could be a really good player, but it's a way, way bigger risk to see if he can play at that level. Do they stick with that and the game plan of let's build for the next couple of years, or do they make a push and bring in one of these big guys? That I think we'll know here in the next week or two. And that's where you want to see where Texas basketball is going to be at next year. And there will still be other players signed, but I don't know if there's going to be anybody who can officially make you go, this is a different season like PJ Haggerty could. That's necessarily going to be available for Texas to be able to go after.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that we've talked about a lot is the way that this roster is constructed right now. Is it a top half SEC team?
Yeah.
And right now, I think we're both of the opinion that it's not.
No.
So, but if you go out and you get a PJ Haggerty, now we're having a different conversation. Now we're talking, okay, this team can be top 8 in the SEC if things, gel together the right way and they don't have injuries and all those kinds of things. They're certainly capable of creeping up into that spot. Are they going to be top of the SEC? No, but they're going to be a much more competitive team in conference. They're going to have a much better shot at making the tournament. They're going to have a much better shot at winning in the tournament if you get a legitimate number one alpha scorer who can take over a game any night of the week, any time of the game. Even if he starts off slow, he can still explode in the second half and end up with 30 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that I like. I understand the retention thing, and I think it's a very, very good plan. And I think it's great in the long term. But unless you're, resigned to doing that and just being like, all right, next year is a rebuilding year and we're just going to, roll with the punches and then we'll really come out swinging in 2026, then you got to give this guy a couple of phone calls and try and get him on campus. You just have to.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who early on in the season had 42 points against Wichita State. And, it's not like the Shockers are the great team of the country, but I mean, they were able to go put up some points on some decent teams that are not, low end Division I. There's middle Division I. So he's been able to put up a lot of points in some of those situations. He can get going. And you want to say all this with Sean Miller and his supposed to be better offense. I know it comes from Penny Hardaway, but if, Sean Miller is supposed to have the offense that's going to be able to get him going, I think you could see something special out of him. But, it becomes in, someone else may already be in the portal that is, so he may have already been paid for. There may already be somebody that says, we were a player short and this is the player we were short, so let's go get him. That may be the case, but if I think if you're Texas, if you're Sean Miller, if you're the people that are around this program and you want to compete next season, you need to at least get a phone call. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care who it's against. 42 points is 42 points. That's more than a point a minute over an entire game of regulation. Like that is crazy in college basketball to score 42 points. So, I mean, that just kind of speaks for itself. It doesn't matter if it's against Wichita State or Sacramento State or Texas State or, Alabama. It's 42 points.
Yeah. And that's the type of player he is. I like Andrei Stojakovic as well. But I think that's just a little bit tougher for Texas because this one, at least you could go, we kind of fits in that point guard spot, that one spot. And then you can put the other guys around it. He doesn't necessarily take playing time away from Kendall Weaver, from Tremont Mark, from Cam Heide, from Dalen Swain, from everybody you've got in that position. I think Stojakovic kind of takes a few minutes away from all of those guys. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. Which one of those do you kind of let go? Do you say, that somehow minutes come out of Jordan Pope's in that? And I just don't know where you find those minutes for Andrei Stojakovic. Now, if he wants to come and that's the last guy and that's the piece, I'm all for it. You got to add somebody else. You have to. It's not ideal. And I'd rather have somebody like him who's a better player than adding somebody just because they fit kind of a mold. If you can't get the right guy, if you get a 30% point guard, 30% shooting 3-pointer point guard, it doesn't really fit the need of what Texas needs. They have too many guys who already can't shoot. So whoever plays that one has to be able to shoot the basketball. Like they have to, because there's too many guys who don't already on this roster. So there's some things that you just kind of have to fill in the holes with, and that's for Texas right now. The problem is they keep going. The Stojakovic one is interesting because he's been here before, so you assume he would at least, or he's visited Texas before. He has seen what they have here. They've seen the facilities. So there's a possibility there. And, they're going to have a top 5 pick in the draft this year with Trey Johnson. So that helps you a little bit more when you say, no, we can get guys drafted. We had a poor season. We still got a guy drafted in the top. It's a good place to be seen.
Yeah. And I wonder with Haggerty specifically, like I'm all about the Stojakovic thing. I just want to have the best players on the roster that you can possibly have for next season, just because I'm being a little bit selfish because I'm tired of watching Texas basketball suck. But, in the case of Haggerty specifically, I wonder if you can go to Jordan Pope and say, look, I know that the original plan was for you to start at point guard for us and play 25 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game. But we have a real opportunity here. If you will make a sacrifice, you're not going to the NBA, buddy. It's not happening. This is your final year of college basketball. You're a 6-foot guard. If you want to play professional basketball, it's probably going to be in Europe. So, we have a real opportunity here to get an elite player that can help us win right now. Will you, as a senior and as a leader on this team, will you take the sacrifice and play 15, 20 minutes a game and let this guy come in and kind of run the show for us and be the seventh man off the bench next to Kendall Weaver? And be a guy that can come in and be a spark off the bench offensively for us.
No, I think you have the conversation of this is something that we didn't expect to have happen, and he wants to come here, and so you now get to make the decision. Is this the role you want to take, or do you want to leave? We fully accept either one, and we'll pay your NIL. If you want to stay, that package remains the same, but your playing time is going to be less. But if you want to leave, we fully understand that as well. But we had to make the best decision for the basketball program. And as of right now, it was getting the leading scorer in the NCAA last year to come to our team. I think, he can understand that one as well. You just have to be honest with it up front and not say, well, it's a competition, because it's not. It's not a competition. And that's where you get into trouble. And that's when you start to lose recruits a little bit more. But it is, speaking of losing recruits, we'll jump over to something else we'll hit real quick before we take our first break. And noticing something I was noticing was Bill Belichick's birthday yesterday. And then I kept seeing, when I was looking through transfer portal names in college football, how many names were jumping out of North Carolina after one spring with Bill Belichick.
Seems like a few.
And I get, you went from Mac Brown to Bill Belichick. You went from a guy who is a really good politician in Mac Brown and a guy that go in there. It's not saying he's not tough and not saying he won't coach in there and get after you. I'm not saying that, but he's not an awkward, condescending at times, and just very different personality from pretty much anyone else you'll meet on earth in Bill Belichick. So they have, I believe, 13 guys right now that have jumped into the portal for UNC already, including a really good defensive lineman in Bo Atkinson. You lost your quarterback that may have been your starter in Ryan Brown at a position you were already kind of struggling at, but they thought he wasn't going to be good enough, so we got to go get somebody else. You've lost a number of players on this team. They've already got a few other players to come transfer in, but this is weirdly setting a tone that I'm noticing a similar trend between him and Deion Sanders, which I wouldn't expect to see, which is the coaches who are coming into college football post NIL, post transfer portal, and got guys who have spent their entire careers in college football, but guys who kind of just watched it from a side and now come into it, and it's a different world, are treating this as if, I expect 20 guys, 30, 20, 25 guys gone every year. And I expect to replace 20, 25 guys. It's the same in the NFL. I expect to replace everyone at the bottom of my roster every single year. I don't want to I want to put better people on this team. And I'm just curious if this model, it hasn't fully worked for Colorado. They were a better team last year. They were a better, they improved with this method. Part of that was you have the Heisman Trophy winner on your team. You're not going to have again, I don't think. But probably maybe not. Deion finds it. Maybe Deion gets that, that love one more time and gets that guy. But Bill Belichick, I don't think, has any ability to go get that guy. I don't think Bill Belichick has that possibility to be the guy to go out and recruit somebody, and to then throw in the fact that he's starting to become a more of a joke because of his girlfriend, and he's constantly in the headlines for the wrong reasons, because people are watching this and just going, dude, you're 73 years old, man. Like, you can't be acting like this around people. Like, this isn't what anybody wants to see. And if you're happy, that's fine. But if I'm UNC, I'm probably looking at it saying, this isn't what I want to see from my head coach. I don't want to see this from my head coach. I want to see somebody who is handling their business a little bit more and has some more discipline in their home life and has some things sorted out, that their wife is not hanging out on the field in crazy clothes, all the time, and kind of taking the spotlight away from the players. Like L'Oreal has her fashion line. She does all her stuff. She shows up on game days. Mm-hmm. I don't think she's there at every practice holding a clipboard and making sure that Sark's stuff works. He has assistants for that. And so it's just a really weird thing right now. But I'd like to get your opinion, Matt, if you think that this is something that is a future trend, that maybe these guys are on the edge, if this is the way college football may lean more and more as some of these older coaches are getting out, and you may see younger coaches step in and say, screw it, we're just going to, every year, we're going to change 20, 25 guys in the fall and another 15 to 20 in the spring. And we're going to rotate our rosters every single year like basketball because we don't care about it anymore. We're not going to try and fight. We're not going to try and keep guys who don't want to be here. We'll offer you what we think you're worth and then figure it out from there. Or if this is just one-offs of some guys that are just kind of getting a spotlight in college right now.
Well, I mean, I think this is a little bit simpler than a lot of people are making it out to be. I kind of look at North Carolina in the same position that Colorado was in. I mean, they weren't the worst team in college football like Colorado was before they brought in Deion. But, you know, they disappointed. Mac Brown didn't have the year that they thought he was going to have, you know, and now they wanted to make a splash. Like Colorado wanted to make a splash with Deion Sanders to sort of revitalize that program and get it back on the map. I think North Carolina was trying to do the same thing with Bill Belichick. And I don't think that they had all of this stuff in mind necessarily when they originally brought him in. I thought that they were going to be like, okay, we're going to use this as a recruiting tool. People are going to think that, you know, Bill Belichick's going to be able to get them to the NFL and really be the best, you know, one of the best developers of pro talent in college football. And that could give us an edge over in recruiting and in the transfer portal. But then, you know, Bill Belichick's personality is one thing. And that's already kind of a weird thing with like having a 24-year-old girlfriend who, you know, wasn't alive when he graduated college. Like that's very weird to me. And I don't really get it.
She wasn't alive when he was an NFL head coach.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like it's just like it's a weird look. And then, you know, they bring in the GM Michael Lombardi, who's an NFL executive. So they kind of set themselves up to be run like an NFL team. And I don't think they realized that when they did all of that stuff, that all these things were going to happen. I think that what they had anticipated was that players were going to be drawn into North Carolina and want to stay at North Carolina so that they could be developed for the NFL. And now they're looking at a situation where these guys are like, who the hell is this guy? Like, who does this guy think he is? Like, I get that he's a Super Bowl winning head coach, but he's never had any experience in college football. He's treating me like I'm a 30-year-old NFL veteran. And he's running camp a different way. His girlfriend's out there making sure he's in the right outfits and, you know, working this fake job. And then they're trying to negotiate things the way that they're doing things at the NFL level. I think it's just kind of already the fact that it's kind of already starting to show holes and unravel is a really bad sign. And I think that it's probably going to do the opposite of what you're saying. And it's going to kind of make programs realize that this isn't the way that we can run college football because it's not the NFL. So, you know, if and when this inevitably fails, which I think it will, because they're just losing so many players. Like they just lost Zach Rice, who was one of the most talented offensive tackle prospects in college football, and he's going to enter the portal. And you mentioned the defensive tackle and the quarterback, and like they've got other players on the roster. But as it's shaping up right now, they're probably not going to be a competitive team in the worst conference in college football. Unless, Bill Belichick decides to show, like Bill Belichick just shows up and outcoaches everybody and they win every game by a field goal and they find themselves, you know, outdoing their expectations. It's just not looking good.
No, and a reminder, Bill Belichick's an awful offensive coach. It's a good defense. Yeah. Really, one of the best defensive coaches in NFL history. But his offenses was Tom Brady. It was just Tom Brady ran them, and it was Tom Brady.
So and how do you win in college football?
Offense.
It's just like college basketball.
And you're also talking about a defense at a college level when you have less time to spend with these kids and, you know, the headsets are different. Everything's a little bit different. The way Bill Belichick was so good at defense is he taught so many different systems and they would switch between them. And, you know, it always took them 3 or 4 weeks in the NFL season. And by week 8, that defense was really cracking. And then they got to the playoffs and they were dominant. You don't have that kind of time in college football because you can't drop your first 4 games and then be relevant later on. So it just seems like it's going to be bad. I think you're right. They want to rejuvenate. I think the problem, because you see this in the basketball program as well, I think they're losing donors or people are just not investing the way they were because UNC used to have the Jordan brand before NIL that was really a big grab, because you could get basically NIL post in North Carolina. There was kind of loop arounds around it, and they could get things done. And they were also North Carolina, which in basketball was really, really big. And that matters less and less, more and more through the time. And I think they were like, well, we'll bring in Bill Belichick, we'll bring us in, and we're going to run an NFL, and that'll get these donors excited to give money. And the problem was, I don't think that did. And now you're trying to run a system that costs more than you were running before, and you have no more money than you thought you were going to have. So it seems like it's a really, really bad situation for UNC right now. This team in the Bill Belichick experiment. Now, maybe if he gets his defense to come out and play at a really high level, maybe if they get a couple recruits that want to come in, it could turn it around at some point. But it doesn't feel like it's going to happen this season. Yeah, it's going to have to be a lot more people that are willing to engage in the Bill Belichick methods, and people that aren't necessarily going to read all the hype and go watch a video where Bill Belichick goes, I'm one of the greatest coaches of all time. And then they go, well, I watched 6 documentaries that said Tom Brady won all those Super Bowls. So
yeah. And let's not forget either, like, yes, Bill Belichick is a great defensive mind, and that's well documented. But this is a roster that gave up 70 points to James Madison, and they're losing players off of that roster.
Yeah.
And he made his son the defensive coordinator.
Of course. I mean,
this is turning into a sideshow in front of the UNC donors' eyes, because you got whether it's true or not. I know Steve Belichick has some NFL skins on the wall, but it has the appearance of Steve Belichick just being a Nepo baby and getting a job because his daddy's the head coach.
Yeah.
His girlfriend is running amok on the sidelines, doing this fake CEO job. Bill Belichick's out there with his shirt off on a front porch with a cigarette after doing whatever the night before. I mean, this whole thing is turning into a sideshow right in front of their eyes. And it has the recipe for disaster. Now, can he rein it back in and put them on the right path? Sure. He's a multi-time Super Bowl winning coach. Of course he can figure out a way to do it. But right now, the way it looks is that he kind of doesn't have enough control to be able to do that, because the donors are just like, we don't buy it.
Yeah.
We just don't buy it.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you. It's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure with North Carolina, but I do not have high hopes. This feels like Colorado next season is going to have a lot of problems, because you're losing out on a lot of different pieces. You lose out on a Heisman Trophy winner that I don't know if you're replacing with anybody that's half the talented on either side of the ball. You lose Shedeur Sanders, who's apparently good enough to get his number retired, even though that is 100% evidence. And the funniest part was Deion said something like, y'all wouldn't be mad if it wasn't his name. Like, he wouldn't be in if it wasn't his name. Like, the only reason he's getting put in is because of you. That's it. There's no way you can look at this anyway objectively and not agree with that, because his record wasn't good enough while he was here. Now, in Deion Sanders' mind, Shedeur Sanders, along with Deion Sanders, has taken a really, really bad Colorado Buffaloes program that was really, really bad when they got there and turned it into a better program. But that doesn't get your number retired. That doesn't get you, like, you shouldn't be in that ring for that. If Cordell Stewart's not in, you don't get in.
That's what I was just about to say. Cordell Stewart won you a national championship, and his number's not retired.
Well, I mean, the white guy won the Heisman. What's his Ishmael or whatever? He actually helped win the Heisman too. Cordell Stewart was awesome. They had another really great player on that team too.
Well, yeah, but neither or either of those guys' numbers retired.
Yes, Ishmael's. He won the Heisman. So once you win the Heisman,
okay.
And Travis Hunter should be too. He won the Heisman. Put his number up there.
But Cordell Stewart is the best quarterback in the history of that program.
I agree. No, I agree. But that's what I'm saying is it's silly. Travis Hunter deserves to be in there 100%. But at the other side, I also wouldn't have put him in right away. I would have waited a little bit because I think you should. But I know Deion Sanders assumes he's not going to be there that long, and so he wants to get it done. It'll be interesting to see if Shedeur Sanders' name gets pulled off of it after Deion Sanders. It would not surprise me at all.
Well, here's another thing too, and just using Texas as an example, they have two of the best quarterbacks in college football history, Vince Young and Colt McCoy, just in the last 2 decades. Did those guys have their numbers retired before the NFL draft? No. Because it's stupid and it's a distraction and it's a marketing ploy.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Doesn't seem to be helping.
No, their numbers are retired
Rashawn
now.
Salam, Roy. Rashawn Salam. Yes, that is the name I was trying to think of off the top of my head that I could not think of. That won the Heisman back in when did he win the Heisman?
In the 90s at some point.
Yeah. 94 Heisman.
Yeah. So but at a certain point, it's just a marketing ploy and it's kind of embarrassing.
No, it's silliness. It's craziness. It's funny because I don't have a problem with Travis Hunter at all. And I wonder if that's where Deion really gets mad is he's like, well, we're retiring these two numbers. And you're like, well, one of those doesn't belong. He's like, no, y'all say I can't retire Travis. Like, no one said anything about Travis Hunter. You win the Heisman, go do it. We're fine. You win the Heisman, that's awesome. Shedeur did not do that. He can't be the guy. Let's go ahead, take a quick break. We will move on to Matt's Bourbon Banter. We want to hit that and get Matt to give you a selection of bourbon for the weekend. You actually have an extra day to buy it because it's Thursday, so you can get another day to go out to the store and get your bourbon ready to sip on and watch the kids go look for Easter eggs in the morning and then forget where you put the Easter eggs because you're sipping on that good bourbon. We'll get to that. Dane Brugler from The Athletic put out a mock draft as well. I want to go through that. It's all 7 rounds, so we can see how many Longhorns he has on that board, where they're going. See where Quinn Ewers goes in this one. We saw yesterday he was a 6th-round pick. This one he may go a little bit higher. So we'll talk about that as well and a little NBA playoffs as we get ready for that this weekend. And Texas baseball starting tonight as well, playing another big series, their first big series in the SEC as the #1 ranked team in the country. Getting all of that and more when we come back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
The best sports bar in Austin, Texas, USA, America is Cover 3. They've got everything you're looking for in a great sports bar. TVs everywhere, so there's not a bad seat in the house, and they've got the right games on. You're not going to have to ask the bartenders, the waitresses, the waiters for the game that you want to watch. They know the games that you want to watch, and the food. My goodness, that's what separates Cover 3 from the other sports bars out there. An upscale menu with tons of great items. You got to try the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich. They've got the filet mignon. They've got the fish tacos. Of course, all of the sports bar classics like wings and nachos as well. Great burgers, great salads. I'm telling you, something for everyone. Of course, the full bar, happy hour prices, the weekend brunch. You got to check them out. Anderson Lane, Round Rock, and San Antonio. And, of course, Cover 2, 183 and Lake Creek. It's Cover 3. Dining, spirits, sports.
Hi, I'm Dan Covert with my wife Hayden. Welcome to Cover BK.
Our newest location in the gorgeous Hill Country includes Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and hundreds of pre-owned and certified vehicles for you to choose from. We have 3 service departments that are ready to take care of your car, truck, or SUV with 86 service bays to accommodate any repair and get you in and out quickly. Come visit us today to select the vehicle you've been dreaming about.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Shout out to Leaf Landscape Supply, a full service and wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX. They have 2 terrific locations. Y'all should check both of them out. If you're up north, hit up the one on Pond Springs Road. If you're down south, hit up the one off Monterey Oaks and 290. If you're looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of specialty plants and rare plants, Leaf Landscape Supplies, your one-stop shop for everything you need. Go to their website at leaflandscapesupply.com so you can check it out before you get there, what you want. And when you do get there and you're in the checkout line, let them know your boy Zay Collier put you on, the boys at Texas Sports Unfiltered, and you get 10% off. 10% off, can't beat that at Leaf Landscape Supply.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
The best sports bar in Austin, Texas, USA, America.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Glad to be back here. Myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI, getting you through a Thursday show. It is our last show of the week, as we'll be off for Good Friday tomorrow. The whole station will be off tomorrow. So we'll get into that. Remember, the text line's open 512-222-9328. We're also open on the chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X is where you can join us there. We did see my man Chan, if I can pull up. I saw texted in here. It would be an upgrade from Pope. I don't foul unnecessarily. We're the same height. Yeah. And he says, Chan says he would be an upgrade from Pope. I don't know if you would be an upgrade, Chan. I met you before. I don't know if you would be an upgrade from Pope. He's not a terrible basketball player. And the craziest part is if you look at his stats at Oregon State, next Higgins, they're not that far off. They're enough far off that you can see why. You can tell that Haggerty's a better player, but the numbers from Oregon State are not crazy different. Same about 3-point percentage, a few less points per game, a few less rebounds, a few less assists, but not crazy different that you would say, God, get rid of this guy. What garbage player he was, and bring in this other guy. Not enough that you would probably do that. So it is an interesting dilemma, and that's what I'm saying is the question is, does Sean Miller really look at Jordan Pope and say, this is a guy that I can make work in my system? And so I feel he's still the transfer from Oregon State rather than the player for Texas last season that just disappeared in so many important games. That's kind of the question of how much they go after anybody else. Until I see them go out and make a big acquisition, I'm going to believe that this season is more of a culture building and building a plan type of season. But I've been surprised before by Texas athletics. So my hope is that I will still be surprised. Let's see. Let's get it rolling here. And Roy, I apologize. We will be back Monday. We'll be back Monday. So, you just have to hang out for one Friday, be getting stuff done and having a good Friday on Good Friday. But I want to get into, if you want to have a good Friday on Good Friday, you can go check out Matt has some bourbon that he likes to review for us every single week here on the last day of the week. Normally it's Friday, but he has bourbon. And Matt, why don't you tell us what bourbon we should be trying out this weekend?
Okay, well, I want to start off with saying this one might be a little bit more hard to find, but if you can find it, I would highly recommend going out and getting it. This week I went with E.H. Taylor Small Batch Bottled and Bond. It's from right there in Louisville, Kentucky. The reason I decided to go with this one is, like, besides the fact that it's one of my favorites, it's also one of the more historic brands out there, and it was named after one of the most famous bourbon innovators in the history of the industry, Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr., who is also known as the father of the modern bourbon industry. It's made by hand. It's a small batch bourbon whiskey that has been aged inside century-old warehouses constructed by Taylor himself, right there in the heart of Louisville. It's small batch is sort of an entry point for a wide range. Is the entry point for a lot of E.H. Taylor products, because they have a whole slew of different things that you can go across. It's a smooth drinker with a little bit of spice, but it isn't too intense for your entry level bourbon drinker, which is a lot of what I'm trying to do here with these for y'all, since I know a lot of you probably aren't bourbon connoisseurs or anything like that. But small batch is a specific type of whiskey that is produced by blending a select number of barrels, usually fewer than large scale commercial production, to achieve like a specific flavor profile. And then the bottle and bond sort of signifies that it was made at one distillery by one distiller during a single distilling season, aged for 4 years in a federally bonded warehouse and bottled at exactly 100 proof. It's a label guarantee of authenticity, basically, that was helped establish by the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897. So now you have a little history lesson here for you on Matt's Bourbon Banter. But yeah, so E.H. Taylor, small batch bottled and bond from the Buffalo Trace Distillery in Louisville. It's 100 proof. It's aged about 7 to 8 years. They don't put an exact date on it, but it's around 7 to 8 years. They use the Buffalo Trace Mash Bill number 1, which is 89.5% corn, 7% rye, and 3.5% malted barley. It MSRPs for about $40 to $50. But unless you're at the distillery or in Louisville or a surrounding area, it's kind of hard to find it at that number. So you're probably going to end up paying somewhere between $80 and $100 or even more at a liquor store that's trying to rip you off. And so it can be a little hard to find, but you can find it on the secondary market. It's got a strong nose with a little bit of sweetness, some vanilla and cherry in there maybe. It's got a sweet taste with some of the same notes, but it comes in with a nice kick to it, 100 proof. And the finish is also pretty nice. It's got that oaky, kind of finish that I really like. Overall, like I said, I'm trying to do these ratings here. I give this one a 7.1 out of 10, and 7.1 is a pretty good number here. I know I came off, high off the top ropes with Still Austin last week with a 9.1, but that's just because that's like one of my all-time favorites. But this is a true everyday sipper. You can have it, on your shelf at all times, impress your friends with it, but it's still simple and easy. It can be enjoyed by a casual bourbon drinker or one of the more experienced bourbon drinkers. Overall, just a really good bottle. And I highly recommend you go out and get it if you can find it. Again, E.H. Taylor, small batch, bottled and bond. As you can tell, I've already kind of dabbled in there too. So
yeah,
really, really great bottle of bourbon. That's a great one to have on your shelf.
There you go. I like it. Another review from Matt's Bourbon Banter, telling you how to get ready for a solid weekend. This feels like the type of weekend. The weather's still pretty nice. You get out, sit on the patio, and slosh around, maybe smoke a cigar, have some bourbon, and enjoy yourself this weekend. It's going to be a good one. And then Sunday comes around, you just hang around the family, eat some good food. Maybe you're a little hungover. It's okay. No one has to know. And then you just do it all over again on Sunday.
Yeah, I will say this too about all of these bourbons that I'm reviewing for you guys. I would highly recommend that if you're going to go out and try one, that you don't mix it with like Coke or put it in your coffee or put some ginger ale in there or something. Just, put a couple rocks in your glass, let it sit there for a second, open up a little bit, and then enjoy it that way. That'll give you the true taste of what it's really about. So, but yeah, I'm going to have probably a glass or two of this weekend, I think.
There you go. I love it. Let's go over to Dane Brugler. He is one of the more intense mock drafters and intense draft surveyors in the NFL. He is somebody who has been around and looked at these, goes over these a lot for The Athletic. He has his site, The Beast, that really breaks down the draft and breaks down film on these guys. So someone I respect. Now, he makes some questionable choices in this, but I wanted to go through it because when he puts some stuff out, it's usually pretty good of his mock draft. And again, we say, as Rob Avers would say, he's a mock slut. A little bit of that here on a Thursday afternoon. Let's get to the start of it. The Titans coming in at number 1 with Cam Ward. No surprise there. Travis Hunter to the Browns at 2. The Giants, by the way, did you see the Giants, Matt, are now on the passage of trying to get Travis Hunter, and the fact that they've said, well, if we get Travis Hunter, we'll let him play both ways. We'll be nice to him and let him play both ways. They're on the record for Travis Hunter now.
Yeah, and I saw that Cleveland came out and said, well, we'd like his first home to be on the offensive side of the ball and have his second home be on the defensive side of the ball. And immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh no. That's not what he wants to hear, man.
Already Cleveland. But they have him going number 2 to Cleveland. Number 3, the Giants take Abdul Carter, the edge out of Penn State. And this falls into what we keep hearing. Now, whether it's true or not, we keep hearing that Cleveland and the Giants are not in the quarterback market, at least in the first round, that they're okay not using, they feel that it's too much of a reach to take a quarterback with that second or third pick, that Shedeur or Jackson Dart is not the guy to go do that at. So they're deciding to move on and take some of the top-ranked talent there. Number 4, the Patriots saying Will Campbell is a pretty consensus pick. But this is where he shifts a little bit and has Jacksonville taking Ashton Jeanty. This is where he says he's going to shift off and say, this is the better player in the draft. Jacksonville can go get an impact player right away. Now, I know they have ATN, so they already have a running back at that position. It feels like that may be a little bit of overkill, but that could also be a Jacksonville move. Somewhat of a Jacksonville move as well. And if you believe Ashton Jeanty is the real deal and is going to be an MVP caliber, or at least offensive player of the year, MVP goes to quarterbacks now, but offensive player of the year caliber player, then maybe it's worth it at a pick 5.
Yeah, and I can see the kind of vision they would have with that too. And I brought this up a couple times before, but if you look at Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, then you can kind of see how that could work because they're two different kinds of players. They do different things. They complement each other very well. And Ashton Jeanty can do all of it. Etienne's a little bit more of a speedster lightning guy. So if you can bring in a guy who you can run in between the tackles consistently and really hammer it out, but also has some explosiveness to him, and then you add him with an Etienne, with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. I mean, that's an offense that could have some real upside to it. So I get it can be a little bit of overkill, but at the same time, their offense was atrocious last year, so they got to find some answers, and that could be a good way to fix it.
Yep, and new coaches over there as well, so we'll see what they want to do and if they want to change out players. And
a 17-year-old GM.
And yes, a 13-year-old GM. He'll be getting out of middle school this year, so an interesting GM. At 6, he's got the Raiders going with Mason Graham after Ashton Jeanty was already gone. Mimbo is your second tackle off the board at number 7 to the Jets. Jalen Walker going at 8. And number 9, the Saints. Some people have been saying that now that Derek Carr is injured, they could be going quarterback. He does not have that. He has him going with the first receiver off the board. Ted McMillan going at number 9 to the New Orleans Saints. This does give them more firepower for a Kellen Moore offense in his first year of Kellen Moore's coach. I feel like they're going to have to go offense here just because it is a Kellen Moore team and he wants to get somebody he can bring in. But I don't know if you just bring in another wide receiver here. You got Olave, you've got Ted McMillan now, and who the hell is throwing him the ball?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't dug deep into the second round of this draft, so I don't know what he has been doing in the second round yet. But it feels like they would probably go for a quarterback there at some point, or they're gonna kind of say, screw it, we'll wait till next year. We want to get our pieces in place because they do have, Alvin Kamara, they have Olave. So, and if you add Ted Millen, that's some really explosive pieces around you. I just, like you said, I just don't know who's going to get them all the ball. That's kind of an issue.
Yeah. Number 10, the Bears take Tyler Warren to the tight end out of Penn State. I love that pick for them. I think Tyler Warren's going to be a heck of a player. Then 11, San Francisco takes Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. That feels like a reach. I don't think that's going to happen. Not to talk bad about Texas A&M, but I just don't think that he is a top 15 player, really. And I don't think he's definitely a top 11 player. There's a lot of needs for San Francisco. They could use an edge, but I feel like there's other guys that they could go get here that would probably be better players and way more safe players. Shamar Stewart is a guy who could be really good, but just not a safe pick at 11.
Yeah, he's probably the most raw player in the top 11 out of all these picks. Like, physically, the traits are there. The problem is he had 4.5 sacks in 3 years, and those like he had a ton of pressures. He had so many pressures. Like he had like upwards of 60 pressures over 3 years, and he just could never quite get there at the right time and finish those plays. So, maybe they feel like that he has enough tools there where they can develop that out of him. But, they also have Nick Bosa on the team, who's arguably the best defensive end in football outside of Myles Garrett. So I don't quite get this one either. But, if Brugler has him going there, he probably sees something in him because I'll be up front before we go through the rest of these picks. I think Dane Brugler is the best NFL scout mock draft guy on the planet. So if he sees something there, then I'll buy it. I'm probably not going to agree with all of his picks, but this one is a little questionable. But if he sees it, I'll trust him on this one.
And then number 12, the Dallas Cowboys taking Matthew Golden. This is, again, them going with wide receiver and going with Ted McMillan's already off the board. Matthew Golden then makes a really easy choice for them that you still get a top wide receiver. You may not get, if it's a coin toss between the two and one's gone, you take the other one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, easy pick. Matthew Golden, for my money, is the number 1 wide receiver in the draft, not named Travis Hunter. So easy pick there. He's going to be an excellent, excellent player no matter where he goes. And I saw that earlier today he was on Kay Adams' show, Up and Adams.
Yes.
Or Up and Adam. And he said that he actually ran that 4.29 40 on a bum ankle. And he thinks that he would have had a pretty good competition with Xavier Worthy for the fastest combine in NFL history. And he was going to shoot for a 4.1, but he couldn't quite get there.
No, yeah, he said he won a 4.1, but he had a bum ankle, and then his agent called him after getting the 4.29 and said, "You're done. Take off your cleats, man. You're done. You don't need to do anything else. You just knocked yourself up the boards enough. You were good. Shut it down. And don't hurt yourself, especially if you've already got that ankle feeling bad. Don't hurt yourself out there because now it can knock you back down." Pick 13 is another one that you don't see as much. Nick Amenwari, the safety out of South Carolina. Again, this is a place where Jahdae Barron's been mentioned. Will Johnson's been mentioned as a cornerback spot. They go safety at 13 in this pick. A little bit surprising there. I think you'd probably go with the cornerback because I don't know if you can move a safety to cornerback as easily as you can move a cornerback to safety.
No, he's not a player you would even consider moving to corner, I don't think.
Yeah.
What surprises me most about this pick is Malachi Starks is still out there out of Georgia.
Yeah.
And he's a safety. He's a guy that can play safety, and he's, probably naturally a safety, but he can also play different positions in the secondary. So I feel like he would be the more logical pick in that scenario. But I mean, Amenwari is going to be a great safety. So maybe they feel like they're going to end up, or maybe he feels like they're going to end up holding on to Jalen Ramsey, and they're going to go in that direction and try and add some help at safety. But, I mean, I would prefer Malachi Starks in that spot for sure.
Yeah. We'll skip on down to pick 20. The Denver Broncos going to go ahead and take Amarian Hampton here. This is always, we talked about a lot over the last couple of weeks. We'll talk about it again, probably Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll get to the draft next week, and then we'll have to shut up about all this, and we'll talk about the players where they're at next week. So everyone who's tired of us doing mock drafts, hold on. We're like a week away from stopping doing mock drafts. 20, and then right afterwards we'll do the next year's projected mock draft just to rub it in everybody's face how much we love mock drafts. But the Broncos taking Amarian Hampton at 20. Running back, another way we just have talked a lot about are the running backs. Is a run going to happen where it's going to make the Cowboys have to make a decision on what they're going to do a little bit sooner than they want to? In this draft, it doesn't. They end up quite fine in this draft. But Amarian Hampton going in the first round here, and then the Steelers at 21 taking Shedeur Sanders. This feels, I know some people say that they let him go further and somebody else gets him. I just see if Shedeur Sanders falls to the Steelers, I don't know how you can consciously and conscionably not take a quarterback here. And if you want to take Jackson Dart, fine. But you have to get a quarterback who can start for you next season. Now, you still may get Aaron Rodgers. He was on Pat McAfee today and basically said, nothing's been decided. I have no idea if I'm going to play next year. I have no idea where I'm going to play, but give me more airtime. I want to talk about things again. But let's make it about me. But I just don't see him sliding past the Steelers. It feels like that's a place where Mike Tomlin wouldn't care about the Sanders thing at all. I don't think Mike Tomlin's worried about a Deion Sanders he knows I've dealt with these players all my life. This is what I do. I'll go coach him. Me and Deion have plenty of respect for each other. Everything will be fine. And I think that he feels that this could be a guy that could start for them next year and probably be better than Mason Rudolph. So you wouldn't have to be as worried if you're a Steelers fan, but this just feels like I don't see him sliding past 21.
Yeah. Well, we talked about with Sean Miller, one of the reasons they brought him in is because he was an alpha to Texas. And they wanted to, kind of assert that culture. Mike Tomlin is the the guy for an alpha head in the NFL. He's not going to get pushed around by Deion. He's not going to be worried about Shedeur's, so-called personality issues, which are probably a little bit overblown. I mean, he already proved that. He's got George Pickens on the roster. He just brought in DK Metcalf, and he got the best out of Antonio Brown for years.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's another one, and there's a plenty more on the list, I'm sure. So, I mean, I think it's if you're looking at this from a perspective of what's best for Shedeur Sanders, this is the spot. It's not New York or Cleveland. This is the spot. Not because they're going to be a good team either, because they're going to be a much better team than both of those other teams, but because of the structure in Cleveland. I mean, the structure in Pittsburgh, the coaching, all the different things. It's a great fit for Shedeur.
Yeah, no, that would be huge for him if he ends up there. And I think it'd be big for the Steelers too, to maybe go at 21. We possibly got a guy who should have been the second pick in the draft and just kind of got talked out of it, but we can make it work. Then with 23, we see Will Johnson being the first cornerback off the board. I mean, Travis Hunter's the first, but we know. And he goes to Green Bay. And then right after that, Jahdae Barron ends up in Minnesota. We're seeing that one a little bit more and more. I think people are salivating a little bit of Jahdae Barron in a Brian Flores offense that moves around a lot and disguises things and is a very heady offense. I think some people are looking at that with Jahdae Barron and saying, well, if you have a piece like that, that's like the queen, and you can just move it around the chessboard wherever you want and use it that piece. I think that's what they see with Jahdae Barron being used in that Brian Flores offense.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a great fit for any defense, but especially with Brian Flores, it's a match made in heaven. He can do anything that you need him to do. I'm going to be surprised if he falls as far to begin with, but if he does, it might be one of the fastest run up to the podium to hand in your card, when you're block situations that we see, because he is exactly what they need. And I wrote a piece for Newsweek earlier today, and I was writing about like the 3 best draft fits for the Vikings. And I had written Jahdae Barron on so many different pieces because he fits with so many different teams. My editor was like, just pick somebody else, please. Like, I get it. He fits everywhere, but just pick somebody else. So I was somebody else, but he would be the ultimate fit there. The absolute ultimate fit there.
Then at 25, the Texans don't go wide receiver. They don't go offensive line. They go Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. He's a hell of a player. He is maybe a top 15 talent in this draft, sliding down. So they would be getting, this falls into the Nick Caserio. We don't draft for need. And we'll figure out wide receiver because we feel we're getting a really good talent that's going to be on this defensive line for several years. You got Sheldon Rankins that is going to help you out this season, but now you could introduce a Walter Nolan this season, and then for years future, you'd have Walter Nolan as your guy. It's an interesting pick. I don't hate the pick because I think Walter Nolan's a hell of a player, but I'm not sure it necessarily – I think it further emphasizes that DeMeco Ryans runs this team, and this team is all about defense. Your defense is going to be good, but maybe at the cost of having an offense that's able to do much.
Yeah, and it'll depend on what they do in round 2 and 3 as well in that regard. But, I mean, I'm obviously a big stan of Walter Nolan, not just because he's an Ole Miss guy, but because I think he's the best defensive tackle in this class. I think he's going to have a better NFL career than Mason Graham, and because I think he's probably like a Chris Jones type who will not only stuff the run for you and be an absolute beast in the middle and clog up lanes, but he can get after the passer. He can get sacks. He throws people around. He's just an absolute physical specimen. So, if you're a defensive coach, it's very easy to see like why they would go in this direction, and they'll figure out the offense later. So I get it. I would still go wide receiver. I would probably go like Emeka Ibuka if he's still there, or another guy. But you're not going to be mad if you get Walter Nolan on your roster.
No,
that's for sure.
And you go, okay, you got to wow me in free agency again and go find somebody else or trade for somebody else, which Caserio can do. But you gotta go get somebody else now. But you've now got a really good solution at defensive tackle. 26, the Rams take Josh Connerly, the tackle guard out of Oregon, ahead of 27, the Ravens taking Kelvin Banks. This again is too far for Kelvin Banks to fall. This is not necessarily the best fit for Kelvin Banks. Look, he can play anywhere, but they have Ronnie Stanley. They're going to be fine at the left tackle position. They're not even drafting him to be a left tackle, really. And that's, I think, is kind of a loss for how good this guy is. It feels like that, again, I'm still really hoping at this point. I was pretty sure about it. Now I'm hoping that there's some teams now, maybe in the 20s, that are really trying to say that his grade is pretty low because they want him to fall. And they're going to be super excited when he gets there, because you just keep seeing him and you keep seeing other guys get ahead of him and jump ahead of him. I'm like, how are they jumping ahead of Kelvin Banks, who's been there for years? I don't know how he keeps dropping with nothing happening.
Yeah, and the pick before that, you saw Josh Connerly go to L.A., and then there's Gray Zabel going earlier in the draft to Seattle in this mock. Yeah. So I feel like both of those teams would pick Kelvin Banks before he got to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, I could really, really see Seattle going after him. That's a spot where I feel like that's the lowest spot that he could possibly drop. But, maybe it happens. I have a really hard time seeing it, man.
No, I'm with you as well. And then Josh Simmons actually drops in this one all the way down to 31. Buffalo takes Malachi Starks at 30. You get Washington taking at 29, Egbuka. So some of these guys falling a little bit further than you would probably think. And then we go into our second round where we do see the quarterbacks start to go off the board a little bit quicker here, with Jackson Dart going to the Browns to start the second round and Jalen Milroe going to the Giants. No huge surprises on either one of those. I know you don't want to see Jackson Dart going to Cleveland. Somebody's going to have to play quarterback in Cleveland. Somebody's going to have to do it. And if Jackson Dart's available at pick 33, it really feels like they're going to go ahead and take him, right?
Yeah, I mean, they will, and I'll just be sad about it because his career will probably be ruined. But absolutely, he's their best opportunity for a quarterback there. There's no question about it. So if that's where he ends up, you just got to hope for the best.
And then we do see Tyler Shuck going to the Saints at 40. So they go a different route they get their receiver in the first round, and then they get Shuck in the second. Again, this guy is flying up board. Whoever his PR person is, whoever is selling for him behind the scenes is got scouts feeling like he has a ceiling that's above what he's already shown, which I don't get. I know that it always feels to me like the guy who practices well. This is just that guy to me that everybody goes, man, once he puts it together in the field, and you go, but that's the whole problem is once he doesn't know what he's going up against, he's not the same quarterback. They go, no, but he's great in practice. You're like, it's always what he just kind of feels like more of that guy to me, that he's going to be a bit overvalued because they think they see this ability in him that I don't know if it's there or not.
I mean, he's basically 25 years old if he's not exactly 25 years old. He's played 6 years of college football, and up until this past year with Louisville, when he threw for over 3,000 yards and 23 touchdowns, he never threw for over 1,500 or over 1,600 yards in a season. These are his numbers. At 2019 in Oregon, he threw for 144 yards on 15 attempts, which he was a freshman. The next year at Oregon, he threw for 1,559. The next year at Texas Tech, 872. The year after that, 1,304. The year after that, 746. And I get that there's injuries in there, and that's probably why a lot of these numbers are the way that they are. But if a guy has a history of injuries over 5 years or losing his job over 5 years, and he finally gets somewhere in his 6th year of college football and he finally has one good year, that's not exactly a good track record, like where you can say that I'm going to make this guy my franchise quarterback. At least to me.
And he's 25 years old now. He'll be 26 as the season begins, pretty much. Turns 26 in September. So he'll be like 26 going in to his rookie season, which I mean, maybe he's a red flag for a second round pick, but if that's where they feel they want to go, maybe they feel, I get for the Saints, if you say we got to draft someone who can play this year, that may be more of the reason why you draft him, is you feel this is somebody you can get in and play right away. But if I'm Kellen Moore, this is not the guy I want to tie my name to as a quarterback, because I understand this is a rental probably, and probably not a long-term solution. So I don't necessarily want to tie my name. Now, maybe Kellen Moore falls in love with a guy like this because Kellen Moore thinks he was underrated and he falls into that category of guy. You know, you always worry about that with coaches, of falling in love with the guy that they identify with. And you're like, you weren't good enough to be the starter in the NFL, though, so don't fall in love with that guy. He can be the backup. But I could believe that kind of thing happening. Go ahead.
Before you move on, my problem with that, if you're Kellen Moore and if you're the Saints, is you're spending second-round draft capital on a rental.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's a horrendous way to run your franchise.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. And again, I think Kellen Moore should know well enough. You, as a head coach in today's NFL, are tied to your quarterback. Now, if you come in and there's already one there, he's not tied to Derek Carr, because that wasn't his decision. But he's tied to whoever they draft. If they draft a quarterback this year in the first 2 rounds, he's tied to him. And when he doesn't succeed, it's going to be hard for people to believe that that's not Kellen Moore, because he said that was a guy, it's just harder for people to accept those kind of things. So I'd be really careful of who I take if I'm Kellen Moore. We go down a little bit at 44. The Cowboys take Quinshon Judkins, the running back out of Ohio State. So they do get their running back. They get a wide receiver in Matthew Golden. They get Judkins in the second round. Pretty good start for the Cowboys. You feel like they're getting what they need pretty early on here. And then we scroll down a little bit further for the second round pick for the Texans. and they get Jalen Royals, the wide receiver out of Utah State. This is the problem I have with not taking a wide receiver earlier is I don't know if Jalen Royals is a wide receiver 3 in the NFL right now. He could be, but he played at Utah State.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he is or not. And we're talking we need a wide receiver 2, and I'm not sure he's a wide receiver 3. And that's kind of where the worry is once you start to get in that second, third round, you're starting to play a little bit riskier, and it feels like you're going to go into that season, and there's a really good chance that you're going to have a subpar offensive line, a running back who's going to miss some time, and one wide receiver. And that's a recipe for getting CJ Stroud hurt. It's a recipe for losing a lot of games. And I don't know if that's where I want to go from the Texans. Now, I think they could add another piece. If you end up getting and Jalen, that's supposed to be your 2. I think you'd still go out and trade or try and sign somebody else that you feel can be in that position. But I get that's the risk. Just what I'll say, that's the risk of if you don't get somebody that you feel a little bit more confident at to be a number 2.
Yeah, and here's where I like to kind of dig into what Dane Brugler is doing, because he is the best talent scout evaluator in the media scene that I've ever seen. So if he thinks that Jalen Royals is a second-round wide receiver, I buy it. He's got a hell of a lot of production at Utah State. Last year he had 55 catches for 834 yards and 6 touchdowns. But the year before that, he had 71 catches for over 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. And, he didn't play a full season this past year. He got injured in October and was out for the rest of the season. But he averages 15.2 yards per catch. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's 6 foot 205. But again, if Brugler thinks that this guy is a second round talent, I'll buy it. He may pick players and places that I don't necessarily agree with, like a Kelvin Banks or, with the South Carolina safety going to Miami. But in terms of evaluating pure talent, I absolutely believe what he does and the way that he does things. So I'll buy this pick for the Texans.
All right. Let's go down to our third round. And we'll start looking at Longhorns picks, and we'll go back, and I'll give you the picks for the Texans and the Cowboys as we keep going through. We won't keep splitting them up. But we get in the third round. We do see Alfred Collins go at the top of this third round to the Kansas City Chiefs. That is where he will end up, which is an interesting place for an Alfred Collins because they do already have Chris Jones there. So they already have the best defensive tackle in the game. I know you're playing 2, but it feels like that may not be the best place for a defensive tackle to go, but maybe to learn under Chris Jones would give you the best opportunity. I mean, it's all kind of how you look at it and you want to take it.
I think that's kind of what he's getting at here with Alfred Collins going there is he's going to be the number 2 and learn behind Chris Jones. And I know that a lot of people think that he has an opportunity to be one of the biggest steals in the draft by, he's going to be a second or third round pick, but he has the opportunity to be he's talented enough to be a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of how they're looking at it because maybe, Chris Jones isn't going to be around forever. So maybe they're trying to, shore things up in the middle there and then, have a guy who they feel really confident can replace him. He might not have the best stats early on in his career there, but I feel like it's a good spot for him to land and learn.
There you go. Let's roll it down to the next pick in there, which is at pick 82. Quinn Ewers off the board in the third round to the Seattle Seahawks. We've seen this a few times over mock drafts of Quinn Ewers going to be behind Sam Darnold, where they've got a guy that they're paying a decent amount of money, but they're not sure he's the future of the franchise or how long he's going to be there. So now is a good time to take a chance on somebody else, see what Quinn Ewers can do. I don't hate this pick at all for Quinn Ewers. I don't know if it's the best place for him to go, but to be a third round pick, go to a place where you are not necessarily just a backup quarterback that you could get some playing time is a decent spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, they signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal with the potential out after 2 years.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's in sort of a rental situation there where they want to compete and they want to have a good quarterback, but they don't think he's a long-term answer. So you bring in a guy like Quinn who can sit and learn for 2 years, or Sam Darnold reverts back into being the Sam Darnold that we saw in every other year of his career outside of in Minnesota. then you have a guy who you can potentially bring in and sort of fix things. So I really like this spot for Quinn. It's not the ideal place that I would have him going. The ideal place is probably the Rams, like we've talked about a lot. But it's not a bad spot for him. And the biggest thing to me here is that the draft evaluator that I trust the most sees him as a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. Well, and then this one also, if you want to see that a guy that you trust, says Gunnar Helm going at pick 88. So Gunnar Helm, a 3rd round pick in his draft to the Jaguars. This feels more where I would put Gunnar Helm in there as a tight end from what I saw of him. But some people have him going 4th, 5th round. But Dan Brugler is saying that he is a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, and they just lost Evan Ingram too in free agency.
Yes.
So they need a replacement there. He could come in and play right away and compete for a lot of snaps. So I think that's a good spot for him. And he's got, he'll have Trevor Lawrence throwing in the ball. So that's fantastic.
Jumping ahead there, Vernon Broughton comes in at 116 there in the 4th round. He gets picked up by the Miami Dolphins. So he can go and be a 4th round pick like that one. And Baron Sorrell a few picks later at 124 to the Packers. Seeing both of those guys drafted there in the 4th round.
I like the Vernon Broughton pick. I love the Baron Sorrell pick because the defense that they run is a very, very good fit for him, and he could go in there and thrive.
We get to round 5, and the Tennessee Titans pick up Cameron Williams, and then a pretty far slide here for Andrew Makuba getting picked at 145. Maybe evaluating him a little bit lower. The Jets taking Andrew Makuba at pick 145 in the 5th round.
So the Cameron Williams pick, I think, is good because the Titans just way overpaid for an offensive tackle that sucks.
That's true.
So he could find a way into that rotation pretty early. I am surprised Makuba fell this low. I again, like I've said a couple of times in the last few days, I think it's a knock on his size being at the safety position, which, he'll just have to go in there and prove that that's nonsense. But he's a good player and he'll be fine in New York.
Then we roll down to the 6th round, and this is where he puts at 187 to the Vikings. Jaden Blue, you be a boutique guy there in the Vikings with a possibility to take over for a more aging running back room. There's not a lot of young talent in that running back room. They have an issue getting anybody recently, so this adds another running back into that with Jaden Blue.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere he goes, he's probably going to be a boutique option, which is fine. His speed is going to be something that everybody covets. I see him going a lot higher than this personally, but I would love for him to go to a spot where he has a chance to compete not only for snaps but to compete in the playoffs. And Minnesota is exactly that.
Yeah, and then final pick there he has for the Longhorns at 239. He has Hayden Connor going to the Dallas Cowboys at pick 239. Finish out the draft of the Longhorns with a Longhorn going to the Cowboys. Would be a good spot for him, let him play close to home.
Yeah, and they need interior offensive line help, so it's a good fit all around. He had a great career at Texas. He could go in there and really compete for a starting role. Even being a pick that late, he can compete for a starting role on the interior of that offensive line because they just have a lot of unproven stuff outside of Tyler Smith.
And then some notable names left off of this draft for Texas is no Isaiah Bond. Clearly because of the legal stuff that Isaiah Bond is not listed in his draft, that he thinks either he's just not listing him because of it and just wants to stay away from it altogether, or believes that he will not be drafted because he is untouchable right now. And then the other one that was a little bit surprising is Jake Majors, who some people have as a pretty high-ranked center that would not go at all in this draft. He has him not being drafted, as well as David Benda and Bill Norton, who are pretty low on most people's boards. So those two would be a bit more surprising if they come in and get drafted.
Yeah, and that's still 12 players being drafted for Texas by my count, which is still a school record for players drafted in a single draft a year after you already set a school record for most players being drafted in a single draft. So that's still a real solid haul there for Texas.
Looking at what the Cowboys do the rest of their draft, we go with their first pick is Matthew Golden. 2nd round, you go with Quinshawn Judkins. 3rd round, Shamar Turner, the defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. Then you go Corey Black in your 5th round with the cornerback out of Oklahoma State. You go edge in the 5th round with Fadil Diggs out of Syracuse. In the 6th round, you take your linebacker, Cody Simon from Ohio State. and you stay in Ohio State for your other 6th-round pick with your secondary player of Jordan Hancock from Ohio State. Then the former Longhorn Keaton Crawford, who's currently in Nevada. He is a 7th-round pick. Hayden Connors, your 7th-round pick. And then Jack Nelson, another offensive lineman from Wisconsin, as the 7th-round pick. That is who he has for the Dallas Cowboys. Anything in there you really like, Matt?
I'm not a huge fan of the Shamar Turner pick. I think
Yeah.
he's a really good player, but he's a major hothead. But I mean, look, if they can sort of wrangle that in, he'll be a really good player. I really like the Jordan Hancock pick. I really like the Cody Simon pick. Both of them were really, really good at Ohio State. And I think, they picked the guy. He has them picking the guy out of Oklahoma State in the 5th round. I would probably think that Jordan Hancock would get more playing time than that guy, just based off of everything that I saw to Jordan Hancock. But overall, if that's what the Cowboys haul ends up being, that's a, B plus draft class for me. And I'm really happy about it. Especially like the Quinshon Judkins pick is my favorite pick.
Matt Golden and Judkins, putting those two guys together is a huge help to that offense.
Yeah. I mean, Quinshon Judkins is an absolute beast, and he would be an awesome player for the Cowboys. So I love that whole haul.
Then the Texans, to go through theirs, they do take that surprise pick of Walter Nolan in the 1st round from Ole Miss, the defensive tackle. They go wide receiver in the 2nd round with Jalen Royals from Utah State. Then we get to the offensive line picks. Pick in round 3, they got 2 picks. They take Marcus Mbao from Purdue and Charles Grant from William & Mary. You hear them tied to that guy a lot. He visited them, so I think a lot of people feel that that's where they're going to go at some point. They get their running back in round 5 with LaQuint Allen from Syracuse. They get another guy in the secondary with Jason Marshall from Florida in round 7, and another offensive lineman, Ellie Cox, the center from Kentucky, to round out their draft in the 7th round as well. I would take Jake Majors there if I'm taking a center. That's just me. I'm a homer.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what, 3 offensive linemen picked for them? Did I hear that correctly? Yes. So that seems a little heavy on the offensive line for me.
That's 3 out of 7 picks are offensive line, which wouldn't be really that surprising because that's what I think. I think they should go 2, but they could go 3. That last pick is kind of a throwaway anyway. Will that guy make the roster or not?
Yeah, I mean, I would go 2 as well, and I'd try and find another receiver somewhere in there.
Yeah,
or even another running back.
Tight end,
I don't
something like that.
Yes, some sort of offensive weapon where you can give CJ Stroud some help. I mean, I don't think that I don't know where he has Ollie Gordon going in this draft because I didn't examine every single pick. But assuming that there's another running back or wide receiver available that you can take a flyer on in the 7th round or the 6th round, I would much rather do that than go after a 3rd offensive lineman.
He has Ollie Gordon going in the 4th round of the Raiders.
Okay. Well, he wouldn't be there, but still, I'd like to find some sort of offensive playmaker in there rather than a 3rd offensive lineman.
Yeah, you go for Donovan Edwards. He doesn't get drafted in this, so you go for Edwards.
There you go.
You can get late. You can get a guy, take a flyer on a guy who was good a year ago.
Your next Dameon Pierce.
Exactly. Is that another one of those guys in there? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, wrap it up, talk a little NBA, get to our meathead of the day, and wrap it up of our week. Getting out of here early this week for Good Friday, but we'll wrap it up here when we come back here on Texas Sports Unfiltered Open Gym, 4 to 6 p.m. with myself, Patrick Davis, and Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of BK, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their 2 flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic and experienced sales geeks or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, wrapping it up here as we wrap up our week a little early for Good Friday. A shout out to Naman Roberts there. Hellman, the third round would be great. Also, Texas lands the tight end from Cal. He may be a second-round pick. Get those tight ends and keep getting tight ends drafted will help. I'm excited about the future of the tight end position at Texas. It feels like maybe you needed one more guy to get over the hump, and this may be the guy to get over it. So I appreciate that. Let's go over and let's talk a little NBA while we have time with a few minutes left in the show. I want to get some predictions out of you, Matt, and I'll give some of mine as we decide where we go in the playoffs. Let's just go through the first round games, and we'll kind of just go through and give our predictions, and then we'll see where we end up with who our champions are. We'll just say who the 8 seeds are. The Thunder are going to – both 1 seeds are winning against the 8 seeds, right? We don't even need to worry about that one. So 1 seeds are going to go ahead and win. The Thunder and Cavs are beating whoever wins these games on Friday. So we don't really have to worry about that too much. Where are you at on this Nuggets-Clippers series?
Well, first of all, I have a question. Are we giving like the amount of games we think it is?
We will on the ones one, though, I don't really care about because we don't know who it is. So it could be a 4 or 5, but I think it'll be probably 5 in either one, maybe 4. I don't think it'll be much more.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with the Clippers actually in this one just because I think the Nuggets are a dumpster fire. I think they probably win in 6. I think the Nuggets can win a couple games, but just because of Jokic. But I've got the Clippers here, especially if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy.
Yeah, I tell you Clippers in 5. I think you fire Mike Malone, this team's kind of already fallen apart. Jamal Murray's not healthy. And if Kawhi Leonard's healthy and Jamal Murray's not, it's a bad sign for how this series goes. Kawhi Leonard is still really, really good at basketball. He just doesn't play it much. Then we go to the Lakers and the Timberwolves. This is a fun one. It's gonna be an interesting one as we get down to it.
I'll save it for later, but I got Lakers in 5.
Yeah, I'll say Lakers in 6. I think they're going to do well, but I still think they'll shut down Luka for a game. And then, we just have one game where Anthony Edwards just goes off in it. It like powers them to a win. Like when it's like 3-1 and they're going to walk away with it. The Lakers feel like they're going to walk away with it. Anthony Edwards puts up like 45 points and they make it to another game and then immediately get killed the next game. So I'll put it in 6. The Rockets versus the Warriors. The Warriors are a very different team since they have gotten Jimmy Butler. But this is a 7-2 series. The Rockets are stacked. We haven't seen them play in a playoff series yet. What do you got for this one?
The Rockets are really young, and the Warriors are really experienced. I think it's going to be a really good series, but I got to go with the Warriors here just because of the playoff experience. I've got them in 7.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Rockets are going to win this one. I think the Warriors are playing much better. The Rockets just have too many defensive weapons to go and start shutting those guys down. I know you take Steph Curry in this. I know you don't bet against Steph Curry. I'm going to say it goes 7, but defense wins in the end because there's just so many. They play really good defense in Houston. They play tough, and there's really 2 guys on this Warriors team that you're worried about. So if you can shut them down, I think you win. Then we'll go over to the Pacers and Bucks. Damian Lillard questionable for game 1, but the deep vein thrombosis is over. The fastest anyone's ever seen somebody get over a blood clot. Damian Lillard's going to come back and play against this Pacers team. What do you got for here in the Eastern Conference?
I mean, if Damian Lillard's going to play, I'm going to go with the Bucks.
Yeah, I think I don't know how effective he's going to be. I don't know all the pieces of what it's going to be yet, but Giannis is just too good. If he's healthy and Dame is healthy, I'm going to take the Bucks in 6. The Knicks versus the Pistons. I mean, this feels like the Knicks kind of have it, but man, it's going to be fun to watch the Pistons beat them up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Knicks in 7. I think it's going to be a really tough series. I think that the Knicks are going to come out of this series extremely bruised and battered, but I think they can get through just because I think Jalen Brunson's one of the best players on the planet.
All right, yeah, I have the Knicks going in 5. I think it doesn't necessarily end up being that great of a series long term, but I think that it's going to be all the games are going to be tough fought. Then Celtics Magic. Is this a Celtics sweep?
Yeah.
I think the Magic win 1. I'll say the Magic win 1 because they do have a lot of talent on this roster, but I'll say they win 1, but it's going to be close. It could be a sweep. Then real quick, we go keep run through this real quick. We have the Clippers and the Thunder. Can the Clippers beat the Thunder or the Thunder beat the Clippers?
Thunder.
Yep. Thunder going to win this one as well. I don't know. That one's going to be tough. I'm going to say the Clippers. I'm going to say the Clippers upset the Thunder because the Thunder just don't have it yet figured out. And they had a great season, but I'll pull the upset here and say the Clippers win it in 6. The Lakers versus the you said Warriors. Lakers versus Warriors.
Lakers in 5.
I have Lakers in 5 as well, even though they're playing a different team in the Rockets on my poll. So you have the Thunder and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Who do you have winning that one?
The Lakers in 5.
Lakers in 5. All right, so you got Lakers in your side. I have the Lakers beating the Clippers as well in that one and going to their NBA Finals. We'll say Cavs versus Bucks.
The Cavs just look too good. I'm going to go with the Cavs, even though I really like this Bucks team when they're completely healthy. But I'm going to go with the Cavs.
All right, Cavs versus Bucks. I'm going to agree with you on that one as well. Knicks versus Celtics. Can the Knicks knock off the Celtics?
I don't think they can. I think the Celtics are just too good and too experienced. So I'm going to go with the Celtics in 6.
I'm with you. Celtics in 5. I'll go Celtics in 6 in that one. And the Cavs versus the Celtics, 1 versus 2. Does the Celtics just make it again?
I think they do. And I think we're set up for a Lakers-Celtics finals, and everybody's going to hate it until they love it.
Hey, I'm with you on that one. Lakers, Celtics, and who walks away with this one?
Trace Leches, Port Neches, Trim Hedges, Lakers in 5.
Oh, Celtics in 6.
Doing my best Shannon Sharp impression.
I don't want to see it, but Celtics in 6 is what I've got. So there's some predictions for you. Tell us what you think about yours in the comments and on the text line. I'd love to hear that. Let's get to it before we run out of time and get to our meat out of the day, which I've just been showing us food. This is a lot of meat. This is some more ballpark food I have found that popped up in my timeline for you, Matt. This one's not as gross, but it's still a lot. And I don't know if I would go for this one. I don't know what the cost of this one is either. But it's probably the best one we've seen so far. This here is from the Marlins ballpark. This is a tower of hot dogs. It features 4 hot dogs, 4 Polish sausages, and 4 corn dogs, along with loaded salchipapas. Comes with ketchup, mustard, relish, sauerkraut, and sweet onions. So a whole lot of hot dog for you at the ballpark if you want to get fancy with your tower of hot dogs.
I could probably eat that entire thing through a game. I would dominate that thing, Patrick.
That's 12 hot dogs worth.
I would,
and then
dominate that thing.
The hot dog, that's probably 13, 14 hot dogs worth.
I would crush it. Absolutely,
I don't believe it at all. I want to see this over the weekend. I want to see video you with 1 glass of bourbon and 14 hot dogs.
I will be in Florida.
There you go. Go on out to Miami. We got to get out of here. We'll be back on Monday after the weekend, getting you ready for more of the transfer portal talk, more from the NBA, more from everything that is sports. Big thanks to Matt for another great week here and holding it down for me on Monday while I was out. Always appreciate you, Matt. For myself, Patrick Davis, and for Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. Reminder to be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here for more on Monday after Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. Have a good one.